Chapter 114. They watched as the Titan giant ape grabbed Xiao Wu with one hand and Wang Feng with the other. Everyone froze in place. The Titan giant ape leaped a few times and disappeared from everyone's sight. Several screams rang out from their mouths one after another. Although the Titan giant ape's pressure was shocking, their bodies were covered in a layer of light released by the Black Lotus, which blocked part of it. In addition, they dodged in time, so they were basically uninjured. However, they never expected that Xiao Wu, who had been sent flying by Tang San, would be caught by the Titan giant ape. Even Wang Feng was caught. The group of people got up from the ground one after another. Zhao Wuji's expression was extremely ugly. The battle was over, and his martial soul true body was deactivated. However, he was also looking into the distance, silent for a long time. Turning back, Zhao Wuji looked at the remaining 6 people who only had some scratches. He was shocked and felt extremely guilty. He was shocked that Wang Feng had really protected them and blocked the Titan giant ape for a few seconds. Although he didn't know how he did it, he felt guilty that he wasn't strong enough and didn't. Teacher Zhao, Ning Rongrong, said he's going to find Wang Feng and Xiao Wu. At this moment, Zhu Zhuqing tugged at the pale-faced Ning Rongrong. The rest of them also had ugly expressions. The one who spoke was Oscar. Tang San also clenched his fists tightly, his eyes bloodshot. Zhao Wuji glanced at Ning Rongrong and said with a dark expression, "Although I don't know why the Titan giant ape appeared here, I've let everyone down. I couldn't stop this. However, Ning Rongrong, you can't go. My condolences. What kind of joke was this? Looking for the Titan giant ape at this time?" Now, there were 7 of them. Not only were they able to survive, but they were also not injured. This was an outcome that no one could have imagined. Were they all going to die at this time? Zhao Wuji would never let this happen. Dai Mubai and the others fell silent. No one was stupid. They all knew what it meant to go at this time. Ning Rongrong's eyes were red and filled with tears. Zhu Zhuqing, who had stopped her, also looked very pale. She clenched her fists so hard that her knuckles turned white. Obviously, she was extremely unwilling, but she had to admit that this was the truth. Are we just going to give up like this? Abandon your companions? Oscar whispered. If you go now. Zhao Wuji glanced at everyone and said in a deep voice, then everything Wang Feng did just now was for nothing. Do you know? If he hadn't blocked the Titan ape's attack for a few seconds, all of you would have been heavily injured. There was a risk of death. Don't let his efforts go to waste. I'm sure all of you understand this logic. Now listen to me and take a rest. Calm down first. Then, they would discuss countermeasures. Giving up was impossible, but you can't be so reckless. Zhao Wuji's voice was very loud and very serious. Everyone knew that Xiao Wu and Wang Feng, who had been captured, had no chance of surviving. However, everyone remained silent. At this moment, Tang San whispered to Oscar, who was beside him, "Oscar, Brother Feng asked you to make mushroom sausages in advance, right? Give me one." His voice was extremely weak. Oscar was stunned. Wang Feng had asked him to make 7 mushroom sausages in advance, but how could he give them to Tang San now? Xiao Wu is my sister and my family. Brother Feng is my best friend. If your family and friends were taken away, would you be willing to accept it? Brother Feng was taken away to protect us from harm. We don't know if he's dead or alive. Oscar, I can't convince myself. I'll just leave like this. Tang San's voice sounded like he was possessed, and it made Oscar's heart tremble. Yes, can I leave with peace of mind? Oscar asked himself. F*CKU. Oscar quietly passed the sausages to Tang San. At this moment, when everyone was so quiet, Zhao Wuji noticed their little movements almost instantly. But it was too late. Tang San ate the sausages. A pair of transparent wings that looked like butterfly spots appeared on his back, and he flew out. Teacher Zhao, I'm sorry, but I can't leave. I want to find Brother Feng and Xiao Wu. Even if they're dead, I want to see their bodies with my own eyes. I'm sorry. After saying that, Tang San flew out. I want to go too. Ning Rongrong walked to Oscar's side. Her 7 treasures glazed pagoda, rose, and gave Tang Sen a buff, then gave herself a buff. However, she was one step too slow and was blocked by Zhao Wuji. Nonsense. What nonsense? Zhao Wuji's face was livid. He looked at the stubborn Ning Rongrong and the others and sighed. Teacher Zhao, Tang San, said he couldn't convince himself to leave just like that. I don't think I can convince him either. Oscar stepped forward and said, Teacher, Oscar is right. We can't convince ourselves to leave just like that. Dai Mubai also stepped forward. Yes, Wang Feng was taken away to protect us. If we leave just like that, are we still human? Ma Hongjun took a step forward. Zhu Zhuqing didn't say anything and stepped forward. Forget it. You're nothing. Zhao Wuji cursed. What a bunch of ignorant brats. Fine, if you're not afraid of death, then go and find him. If you can't find him, we'll die together. Is that okay? Oscar, hurry up and take out your grilled sausages. Everyone was stunned. Just as Oscar took out the grilled sausages, in the distance, a sword light cut through the night and landed in front of everyone. A faint voice sounded. I've finally found you. You're Zhao Wuji, right? Hurry up and call that kid called Wang Feng out. The sudden voice instantly stunned everyone. In the distance, a white-robed old man with white hair and a youthful complexion was standing on a sword. He looked like an immortal descending upon the crowd. At this moment, Ning Rongrong was stunned, and the surprise in her eyes widened. She ran over and hugged the old man while crying. Grandpa Jian, why are you here? Grandpa Jian? Title Douluo? Zhao Wuji's pupils constricted. The sword Douluo looked at the sobbing Ning Rongrong, and his calm demeanor was instantly replaced by rage. Rongrong, why are you crying again? Let me tell you, who bullied you? Is it that kid called Wang Feng again? Don't worry, Grandpa is here today to help you vent your anger. He actually dared to kick you. I'll tie him up today and let you kick him as much as you want. The sword Douluo was furious. Looking at Rongrong, who was usually very precious, crying like a pear blossom in the rain, he couldn't help but feel his liver ache. What a bastard. After speaking, 9 soul rings lit up on the sword Douluo's body. 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 5 black. Everyone was stunned. Everyone. Title Douluo? The sword Douluo of the 7 treasure glazed tile sect, Dai Mubai whispered. As a prince of the Star Luo Empire, he could still guess. But wait, when did Wang Feng kick Ning Rongrong? You are Lord Chun Xian? Zhao Wuji stuck his head out and asked tentatively. Chapter 115. Zhao Wuji. How does your Shrek Academy discipline its students? Zhao Wuji glared at Zhao Wuji coldly. You actually let Rongrong suffer so much. Zhao Wuji opened his mouth and didn't know what to say. Although he knew about Wang Feng and Ning Rongrong, he didn't expect the sword Douluo to come at this time. At this moment, Ning Rongrong wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and hurriedly whispered, No, it's not Zhao Wuji. No, it has nothing to do with Teacher Zhao. It's Wang Feng and Grandpa Jian, let's not talk so much. Hurry up and help me save Wang Feng. Hurry up, sword Douluo. What? Save that kid? The sword Douluo looked at Ning Rongrong and was puzzled. What's wrong with this girl? He bullied you and even made you cry. Why do you want me to save him? Did she change her personality? Ning Rongrong hurriedly recounted what had just happened in a few sentences. After hearing this, the sword Douluo fell silent. Interesting. The sword Douluo looked into the distance, and a strange glint flashed across his eyes. A mere rank 30 soul master can block the Titan giant ape for 2 to 3 seconds at the critical moment and protect the 6 of you. Tell me, where is he? With the sword Douluo's participation, Zhao Wuji and the others immediately felt much more confident and heaved a sigh of relief. However, the crowd was still not optimistic. After the Titan giant ape grabbed Xiao Wu and Wang Feng, it ran all the way. However, at this moment, no one could see the scene in front of them. Xiao Wu wasn't caught in the palm, but sitting on the Titan giant ape's shoulder. Wang Feng couldn't see it either, because he was still caught in the Titan giant ape's palm. The bumpy journey almost made his soul leave his body. This was simply differential treatment. This Titan giant ape was running on all 4s, and he was in one of its palms. This was simply an experience of riding a death roller coaster. In addition to the backlash just now, he suffered some internal injuries and fainted. Big Ming quickly let go of Brother Feng. Xiao Wu sat on the Titan giant ape's shoulder and said anxiously, "He fainted. Why did you grab him? Hurry up and let him out." Roar, roar, roar. The Titan giant ape let out a few strange roars, but shook its head. It could not put a human on its shoulders. You said that you were curious. How could he block you and make you feel uncomfortable? You caught him and wanted to eat him. That's strange. How did Big Brother Feng stop you? No, you can't eat him. Big Brother Feng is my friend. If you dare to eat him, I will disown you. Xiao Wu frowned and said, "Quick, put him down. I want to go back with him." But at this moment, the Titan ape suddenly glanced behind him, stopped, and growled a few words. Xiao Wu was also stunned by this roar. Are you saying that a tidal Douluo is coming? Xiao Wu thought for a moment, and her expression became a little gloomy. Then leave Brother Feng here. They should be able to find him later. You and I will go back to Big Ming's side first. We'll come out after that tidal Douluo leaves. It'll also be a good opportunity to increase our soul power. Roar, roar, roar. The Titan giant ape swung its arm and flung Wang Feng out, hanging him on a tree. Hey, what are you doing, Erming? Be gentler. Xiao Wu immediately shouted. The Titan giant ape had an innocent look on its face as it continued to run with Xiao Wu, heading deeper into the forest. Erming were already in the depths of the forest. Big Brother Feng has fainted. It's dangerous. Xiao Wu said. Oh ho, what does it have to do with me? Who asked him to hold me back? Xiao Wu was speechless. Wang Feng fell onto a towering tree, and he slowly regained consciousness not long after. His injuries weren't serious, but the Titan giant ape had been too bumpy, and he was like a patient with a fever riding a roller coaster. Even an Iron Man wouldn't be able to take it. However, Wang Feng's body was very strong, and he woke up not long after the bumpy ride. That fall didn't cause him any harm, but the tree was bent from the impact. What's going on? Wang Feng shook his head as he regained consciousness. This should be the depths of the Stardew forest, right? Xiao Wu must have asked the Titan giant ape to keep me here. However, logically speaking, Xiao Wu should have chosen to go back with me. At most, she would have secretly increased her soul power while I was unconscious so that I wouldn't know her secret. Why did she leave me here alone? Wang Feng was a little perplexed. He didn't know that the sword Douluo was already here. In fact, Wang Feng wasn't worried at all about being caught by the Titan giant ape. Why become stronger? I'll hang you up and give you a good beating, you gorilla. Wang Feng cursed as he touched his soft body. At this moment, there was a sudden commotion in the distance, and there were also strange roars. Wang Feng's expression changed when he saw this. It's a soul beast. Damn it, I don't have any soul power now. I'm still a little injured, and I can only deal with a 2,000-year soul beast with my physical fitness. Furthermore, I haven't fully recovered yet. Wang Feng had used up all his soul power. He had a strong physical fitness in the space-time, and he was also injured, so he could only use part of his strength. It was very dangerous. Even with the meteoric tear, Wang Feng couldn't replenish his soul power in such a short time. He needed at least an hour to recover some of his soul power. It was important to know that his rank 30 soul power wasn't the same as an ordinary rank 30 soul master's soul power. The Golden Lotus didn't have much effect on him, and it wasn't a perpetual motion machine. Wang Feng's heart sank, and he took a deep breath. He jumped lightly, as if he was already used to the terrain of this forest, and jumped onto another tree. He jumped around in the forest for a few minutes. Not long after, Wang Feng saw a huge figure in the distance, and his pupils shrank. 10,000-year soul beast, the thorn Xuanwu turtle, in the distance. There was a small stream that was about 10 meters wide, and beside the stream, there was a huge turtle. It was at least 7 to 8 meters long and 3 to 4 meters tall, and it was patrolling in the distance. This turtle looked very ferocious, and there were 3 protruding ridges on its back. Its shields were brown in color, and the 33 shields were like 33 small mountains. They were arranged in 3 rows, and there were many serrated protrusions on the edges of its back. making it look like an armored dinosaur. Its tail was thin and long, and it was as hard as a steel whip. It gently swept across the corundum, and in an instant, stone chips flew everywhere. Its light blue body, from afar, looked like a super-large caravan. It's 3 meters tall, and there are a total of 33 shields on its back. Its entire body is light blue, which means that it's a 30,000-year thorned Xuanwu turtle. Wang Feng looked at the thorned Xuanwu turtle in the distance with a burning gaze. This was an extremely rare 10,000-year-old beast that could both attack and defend. The thorns on its back could almost reflect an extremely strong force. It was an ability that many defense-type soul masters desired and needed. My Black Lotus has extremely strong defensive abilities. If I absorb the strength of this thorned Xuanwu turtle, it means that I can reflect attacks. It can complement many soul skills that I can't use reversing universe to avoid. Chapter 116. Wang Feng's eyes twinkled. This soul beast was extremely suitable for the Black Lotus. Its defensive power was shocking. If it could reflect attacks, it would be a reflection of armor. If you hit me, I won't be able to break through its defense, but you will be reflected to death. Other than that, this 10,000-year-old beast is extremely heavy. It's at least a dozen tons, but it's not slow. This thing is similar to the snapping turtles from my previous life. Just its appearance alone is several times bigger. Wang Feng sighed softly. Unfortunately, it was too strong. He had no chance at all. This snapping turtle's defensive power was also shocking. If Zhao Wuji was here, even if he used his martial soul true body and Wang Feng used his deification skills, he wouldn't be able to break through this snapping turtle's defense. Not to mention killing it. Do I have to give up just like that? But what can I do if I don't give up? I don't even have a trace of soul power. Should I just go over like that? Wang Feng looked at the thorny Xuanwu turtle in the distance. Right at this moment, the thorny Xuanwu turtle turned its head, and the thorns on its back shot toward Wang Feng. Wang Feng was shocked. He quickly leaped away from the tree. Boom! The thorny Xuanwu turtle toppled the 10-meter-tall tree with one move. At the same time, the Xuanwu turtle roared and shot out a light blue water pillar. This water pillar was extremely corrosive. The moment it came into contact with the tree trunk, the tree sizzled as it was corroded. It didn't take long for the tree to melt. Damn. Wang Feng used the tree branches in the forest to dodge. It's a little strong. Yi Zhiqiu's Xuanwu turtle is nothing in front of this thorny Xuanwu turtle. Although it can't be compared, even if I'm in my peak state, I won't have a chance against this Xuanwu turtle. Let's retreat. Wang Feng took a deep breath. This rare 30,000-year-old beast not only had shocking defensive power, but it was also very aggressive. It was impossible to break through its defense. Wang Feng didn't even know what the Xuanwu turtle's weakness was. He could only use his aggressive martial soul to fight it head-on. Wait, it's aggressive. Wang Feng hid in a bush, away from the Xuanwu turtle's line of sight. Wang Feng thought of the heaven-splitting ancient axe. Maybe, did this axe have a chance? F***, what am I thinking? I don't have any soul power right now. Can I unleash even 1,000 to the Pangu axe's power? Wang Feng was amused by his own naivety. I wouldn't be this drunk if I ate a peanut, but right at this moment, suddenly, waves of majestic energy gushed out of his body. This energy instantly fused with Wang Feng's limbs and bones. Wait, where did this soul energy come from? Wang Feng was stunned for a moment. Then, he opened his palm and sensed the source of the energy. It was the third form of the Black Lotus. Just now, the majestic energy had been pouring out from inside in an endless stream. Could it be that the Black Lotus absorbed the furious aura of the Titan giant ape when it pounced on it and converted it into energy? Wang Feng was pleasantly surprised. He did not expect the Black Lotus to have such an ability. It was unexpected, but within reason. This was because in prehistoric myths, the ability of the 12th grade Black Lotus of Destruction was to absorb all kinds of violent auras and convert them into energy for its owner to cultivate. So much energy. Wang Feng could feel the energy in his body gradually filling up. Suddenly, he felt a surge of confidence. I can't just leave like this. The Titan giant ape has already left. It wasn't easy to encounter this 30,000-year-old thorny Xian underworld turtle. I can't keep the sky azure bull python here either. A Wang Feng will say it. Even if I have to risk my life, I have to give it a try. Maybe a bicycle will become a motorcycle. How can everything be smooth sailing in this world? A surge of soul power gushed out of the Black Lotus. Even though the Black Lotus had just bloomed and only absorbed a small part of the Titan giant ape's anger, it was enough for Wang Feng. Wang Feng walked out. His soul rings gradually lit up. Pango axe. Wang Feng grunted. His other hand trembled slightly, and an ancient axe slowly appeared. Wang Feng slowly poured his soul power into it. With one hand holding the Black Lotus and the other holding the Pango axe, Wang Feng acted as the energy transfer. Wang Feng did not dare to waste any soul power because the Pango axe required a lot of soul power. Therefore, Wang Feng did not dare to use the other two forms of the Green Lotus. As his soul power gradually poured in, the Pango axe became more and more solid. The ancient patterns on the axe became brighter and brighter. All of a sudden, a terrifying aura started to ripple in the surroundings. The aura spread out from the gradually solidifying axe. The ground started to tremble. The trees in the surroundings swayed, even though there was no wind. In the sky, dark clouds gradually condensed. Lightning flashed faintly, and from time to time, a ray of light flashed, illuminating the dark earth and sky. Roar! On the ground, the thorny Xuanwu tortoise looked at Wang Feng and roared. It didn't know why, but it actually felt a trace of threat from this weak human being. At this moment, Wang Feng, who was crazily pouring his soul power into the Pango axe, was increasingly shocked. The amount of soul power absorbed by the Black Lotus had far exceeded the limit of what he could bear. It was not only his rank 30 soul power that had been compressed and purified. It was even more, much more. Even after being purified by the meteoric tear, it was still too much. According to Wang Feng's guess, it was at least as much soul force as his rank 40 soul force. It could be imagined that the Black Lotus had absorbed a lot of soul power from that attack. It could also be seen that the Titan giant ape's leap was filled with anger. If that's the case, I can use the soul power absorbed by the Black Lotus as a foundation and directly pour it into the Pango axe. Then the Pango axe can really be used. Wang Feng looked at the Pango axe that was gradually solidifying. Sometimes one would only know after doing it. He knew that when the Pango axe was fully solidified, it would be time to make a move. However, Wang Feng did not know that from the perspective of the thorny Xuanwu tortoise, his current state was extremely terrifying. Boundless murderous aura swirled around his body like an ocean. Countless chi forces revolved around him, forming the shape of a tornado. A terrifying power condensed from the axe and spread out in all directions. A visible pillar of energy shot up into the sky from Wang Feng's body. This was the power brought about by the Pango axe. Roar! At this moment, the impatient thorny Xuanwu tortoise roared and charged towards Wang Feng. With every step it took, the ground shook violently. One could imagine how heavy it was. As it walked, it spat out extremely corrosive water pillars from its mouth. The thorny turtle shell on its back also grew countless bone spikes and shot toward Wang Feng. At this moment, Wang Feng could not use the Black Lotus to defend himself. His soul power was all channeled into the Pango axe. If he was hit, he would definitely die. However, at this moment, in the end, the handle of the Pango axe became incomparably solid. An incomparably real Pango axe appeared in Wang Feng's hand. It was also at this moment, the moment the Pango axe landed in Wang Feng's hands. Boom! A terrifying aura that seemed to be able to shatter the heavens and earth spread from Wang Feng's body. The aura condensed from Wang Feng's aura. It was so solid that it shook the surroundings and the sky. The thorny Xuanwu tortoise's attack, be it the water pillars or the bone spikes, were all shattered by this aura. Everything in the surroundings, be it the ancient trees, the vegetation, or the stream water, were all shattered or evaporated. Chapter 117. Up in the sky, a bright pillar of chi was emitted from Wang Feng's body and shot into the clouds. At the same time, in the instant that Wang Feng grabbed the Pangu axe, his sea of consciousness was filled with a cold and desolate aura. It was as if heaven and earth were about to split open. Almost at this moment, countless slumbering soul beasts in the entire Great Star Do forest were abruptly roused from their slumber, and all of them turned toward Wang Feng. Beside a massive lake at the center of the Great Star Do forest, Xiao Wu's third purple soul ring slowly lit up, and moments later, she opened her eyes slightly. At this moment, the Titan giant ape, which had been resting with its eyes closed beside her, suddenly opened its eyes and stood up with its massive body. At the same time, a huge silhouette suddenly emerged from the lake. Waves of water burst out. This monster had the head of an ox and the body of a snake. Its head alone was at least 4 meters long. It was incomparably huge, and its eyes were like 2 lanterns that were shining brightly. It was connected to a huge snake body that was a few times thicker than a water tank. This soul beast was none other than the sky azure bull python. Xiao Wu also opened her eyes and stared into the distance at the pillar of light. Big Ming, Air Ming, what is it? Xiao Wu asked. It's a very terrifying aura, Big Ming whispered to Xiao Wu. Terrifying? Xiao Wu faltered slightly upon hearing this. Did these words come from Deming's mouth? What do you think? Big Ming's sky azure bull python asked the Titan giant ape. I feel the same, the Titan giant ape said. Xiao Wu stared at the pillar of light. Has the Great Star Do forest never appeared before? The 2 rulers of the Great Star Do forest exchanged a glance and shook their heads. I've never seen such an aura before. It's as if it can split open heaven and earth. It's not very powerful right now, but it struck both him and me with an instinctive sense of fear, Big Ming said in a low voice. It doesn't feel like the power of a soul beast, nor does it feel like the power of a human. Let's not go out for now. Xiao Wu nodded. What kind of power is this? Why is it striking fear in both Big Ming and Air Ming? At the same time, the sword Douluo and the others, who were moving quickly through the forest, suddenly stopped. Wait! All of a sudden, Sword Douluo yelled as he stopped everyone in their tracks. He looked at the pillar of light in the distance. The soul rings on his body were absorbing and spitting out terrifying power, and his face was a little gloomy. Your Majesty, you felt it too? At this moment, Zhao Wuji walked over. His voice was extremely low. Grandpa, what's wrong? Did something happen in the distance? Stop wasting time. Ning Rongrong said anxiously. The sword Douluo remained silent. It was also at this moment that a terrifying aura burst out from the light pillar in the distance. Everyone trembled at the same time. What is that? Dai Mubai raised his head and looked at the light pillar in the distance through the dense foliage. Stop first, we'll leave later. Sword Douluo took a deep breath and said, There's a strange power up ahead. Don't move. Hearing this, everyone was obedient. What a strange power. It doesn't look like a soul beast, nor does it look like a human. Zhao Wuji stared into the distance with some fear. When did such a strange power appear in the Great Star Do forest? It seems like it's going to destroy the world. I wonder what it is. Sword Douluo frowned and stared into the distance. He was much more experienced than Zhao Wuji and had a better understanding of the Great Star Do forest. However, he had never seen such a terrifying power. What exactly is that? A human? A soul beast? Or something else? The fear in his heart and the long-lost fear made Sword Douluo not dare to lead everyone forward. For so many years, he had rarely felt this kind of fear. However, this kind of instinctive fear made him not want to go to that place, another part of the Great Star Do forest. Tang, Sin was fighting with a man-faced demon spider. It was a critical moment. Suddenly, the man-faced demon spider let out a mournful roar, and its body froze. Good chance. Tang, Sam was startled. He didn't know why the man-faced demon spider stopped moving. He walked over and used his clear sky hammer and various hidden weapons to kill the man-faced demon spider in an instant. Wang Feng didn't know that the moment he held the Pangu axe, the entire Great Star Do forest seemed to tremble. Countless old beasts looked into the distance where the light pillar was. Instinctive fear appeared in their eyes. Regardless of whether they were humans or soul beasts, they all felt the same. It was also at this moment that Wang Feng's clothes were torn apart. Countless blood vessels on his muscular body were bright and bright, as if they would explode at any time. His muscles were the same. They were trembling crazily, as if they would explode at any moment. From afar, it looked like a person with countless blood vessels flowing on his body. It was extremely terrifying. Seems like I went overboard. Even if the energy absorbed by the Black Lotus is enough to support the formation of the Pangu axe, my physical fitness is not enough. Wang Feng was barely conscious in his mind. He didn't expect that using the Pangu axe would require stronger physical fitness. He thought that he only needed a certain amount of soul power to activate it. He didn't expect the martial soul Pangu axe to put so much pressure on his body. He wasn't a god, so he didn't expect this. However, thinking about it, this was something that Pangu used to create heaven and earth. How terrifying was Pangu's body? If his body was too weak, how could he withstand the power of the Pangu axe? Wang Feng's body felt like it was going to explode, and he took a step forward. Crack, crack, crack. A terrifying crack appeared on the ground. Before I explode from the power of the Pangu axe, I will kill this Xian underworld tortoise. Eat my axe. Wang Feng's eyes were red. Countless blood vessels were flowing on his face from his neck to his entire body. Every breath he exhaled was scorching hot. Wang Feng jumped high into the air. His aura was like that of a god. Lightning flashed in the sky. This axe seemed to have triggered a phenomenon in heaven and earth. Old tortoise, this axe will kill either you or me. Come meet your fate. Wang Feng jumped down from the sky. His body bent into a terrifying arc. His muscles contracted crazily, and crackling sounds could be heard from them. Wang Feng used his strength to split Mount Hua and directly chopped towards the Xian underworld tortoise, who was roaring furiously, but whose eyes were filled with fear. This axe directly broke the Xian underworld tortoise's incomparably tough bones. The steel armor on his body was directly shattered into pieces. His entire body was bleeding profusely. Blood was flowing like water. A terrifying light accompanied the axe as it chopped down. Dong! The Xian underworld tortoise shrank back into its shell. Its heart was filled with extreme fear. Apart from the fear of power, it was even more fearful of the aura emitted by the axe. This was the axe that Pangu used to create heaven and earth. Who wouldn't be afraid of it? Even if it was just a martial soul, the incomparably tough turtle shell, which was covered with thorns, almost instantly cracked under this axe. The Xian underworld tortoise suddenly stretched out its head and let out a painful roar. Countless amounts of blood flowed from its shell. However, the force of the recoil also sent Wang Feng flying dozens of meters away. The Pangu axe in his hand also disappeared instantly. All the various scenes also turned into clouds and smoke. Chapter 118. Wang Feng, who was lying dozens of meters away, used his remaining strength to lift his head and look at the Xuanwu tortoise. Wang Fengxin felt a chill down his spine when he saw the Xuanwu tortoise. It's not completely dead yet. Indeed, it's too difficult. Although I have enough soul power, my physique isn't strong enough. I can't unleash the full strength of the Pangu axe. Wang Feng heaved a long sigh and said, "The heavens want me dead." However, the Pangu axe was truly too powerful. Even so, it was still able to chop the mysterious underworld turtle half to death. If my physique was just a little stronger, that axe would have been able to blast it to bits. This is a 30,000-year soul beast. But with this axe, I'm going to die as well. As he listened to the Xuanwu tortoise, who was slowly crawling towards him, Wang Feng looked at the pitch-black sky and didn't know what to say. The Xuanwu tortoise was already half dead, but it was very determined. It was about to walk towards Wang Feng and roar, as if it wanted to eat Wang Feng. No, I can't die like this. I still have some strength in my toes. Wang Feng used his remaining leg to drag his body along the ground. He was like a caterpillar crawling forward. Just like that, a tortoise and a human crawled forward. Wang Feng didn't know how long he crawled until he had no more strength left. He looked up at the sky. From the sound, Wang Feng knew that the Xuanwu tortoise was only a few meters away from him. At this moment, the meteoric tear's strength slowly surged out from his heart. Wang Feng wanted to laugh when he saw this, but he didn't have the strength to do so. Are you really going to come out only when your last bit of strength is gone? But if I come out now, it'll be enough for that tortoise to eat me. The meteoric tear only spewed out energy to restore itself when it was at its limit and had no strength left. After regaining some strength, Wang Feng moved his finger and the soul tool in his ring flashed. He took out a piece of clothing and covered himself with it. However, Wang Feng couldn't put it on because he didn't have any strength left. When he received the axe, everything on him was gone. Only this soul tool was left. Even if I die, I can't die naked. I have to be presentable. Wang Feng wanted to yawn. Since he was not from this world, Wang Feng was not afraid of death. However, he recalled the scenes of the past few years. Rustle. The Xuanwu tortoise dragged its exhausted body and revealed its sinister head to Wang Feng. It was about to die, but before it died, it was going to eat this human. It was the mighty thorny Xuanwu turtle. Even though stronger than it didn't dare to provoke it. Whoever provoked him would die. But now, he was injured to such an extent by a human. Now that the axe was gone, it was time to take this human's life. It crawled towards Wang Feng and opened its ferocious mouth. Right at this moment, whoosh, whoosh. A green longsword landed in front of the thorny Xianming turtle. It emitted a powerful and awe-inspiring aura. The Xuanwu tortoise was stunned. Wang Feng suddenly opened his eyes and was startled. This sword, at the same time, a faint voice sounded. A 30,000-year-old thorny Xianming tortoise was injured to this extent? Kid, you're Wang Feng? As soon as he finished speaking, an old man wearing a white robe suddenly appeared in front of him. He had an otherworldly air about him. Old Grandpa, who are you? Wang Feng seemed to have regained some of his strength as he spoke weakly. The meteoric tear was slowly healing his injuries. However, it still needed some time. It would be difficult for him to fully recover in a short period of time. Who am I? The elder turned around and looked at Wang Feng with a half-smile. Can't you see my sword? Old Grandpa, why are you scolding yourself for no reason? Wang Feng was stunned. Can't I see your lowly self? How can I see it? The elder's expression froze as he snorted coldly. He didn't speak. However, 9 soul rings suddenly lit up on the elder's body, which almost blinded Wang Feng. Wang Fengxin felt a chill in his heart. Could he be the sword Douluo? He's actually in the great Star Do forest? Is he here to find trouble with me? Of all the times, why is he here now? He's trying to kill me. Elder, may I know why you're looking for me? Wang Feng had regained some of his strength, but his tone was a little stiff. As he spoke, he struggled to stand up. The meteoric tear was still very powerful. While the two of them were chatting, he had recovered some of his strength. The sword Dalu looked at Wang Feng, who was covered in blood. As Wang Feng stood up, a strange look flashed across his eyes. This kid was so weak when he came earlier. He was covered in injuries. Now, he's actually standing up. His recovery ability is a little crazy. Let me ask you a few questions first. The sword Daw said plainly, if you can't answer, my sword won't recognize you. Go ahead, go ahead. Wang Feng coughed a few times. The sword Daluo was a titled Douluo. Wang Feng didn't want to rely on luck. Did you see a pillar of light nearby? The sword Daluo pointed in a direction in the distance. That was the starting point where Wang Feng and the black tortoise had climbed over. Wang Feng could see that it was about a few thousand meters away. Hearing this, Wang Fengxin thought to himself, it seems that the sword Daluo must have noticed that I used the Pango axe just now. Oh, I saw it, Wang Feng said without changing his expression. At that time, the pillar of light was very big. I vaguely saw an imposing figure in the middle of the pillar. He was holding a divine item and was as handsome as a god. It was as if he had gathered all the charm of a man in the world. The sword Dalu looked at this kid and felt a little strange. Wang Feng continued, I was too far away. In addition, I was thrown down by the Titan giant ape. I was severely injured and couldn't move. I could only see a little. This man, who seemed to be worshipped by heaven and earth, held a divine item and slashed down with his saber. In the blink of an eye, the earth trembled and the clouds were alarmed. All the soul beasts in the surroundings fled like ants and rats. You didn't see that power. It was amazing. Hearing this, the sword Dalu was slightly shocked. As expected, that power, was it so terrifying? A man? It was actually a human? Could it be a human martial soul? What kind of powerful existence would that be? What kind of martial soul would it be? The sword Dalu thought to himself. Not only did I feel fear, even the soul beasts were terrified. What else? The sword Dalu asked indifferently. What else? Wang Feng pretended to be surprised and said, That's all. The divine item in his hand split the void and shattered it. I was unlucky. This 30,000-year thorny Xian underworld turtle was far away and wasn't killed. It probably smelled my aura and wanted to come over and eat me. Fortunately, Senior came in time. Wang Feng said gratefully. After hearing this, the sword Dalu sucked in a breath of cold air, shattered the void and left. God, what is this? The sword Dalu thought to himself. Fortunately, I didn't come just now. Otherwise, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to defeat him. There is such an expert in this world. However, this kid might not be telling the truth, but he is still somewhat trustworthy. Senior, is there any other question? Wang Feng asked carefully. After he finished speaking, he glanced at the thorny Xian underworld turtle and thought to himself, I'm safe. It seems like the heavens haven't forsaken me. There's one more question. If you answer it correctly, I will let you go. If you don't, haha. At this moment, the sword Dalu suddenly revealed a smile. Senior, please ask. It's very simple. Tell me, if the younger one is kicked, shouldn't the older one be kicked back? The sword Dalu narrowed his eyes, and a cold light flashed. Wang Fengxin felt a chill run down his spine. Chapter 119. Sometimes the world was just so strange. If the sword Dalu hadn't arrived in time, Wang Feng felt that he would have died. However, since the sword Dalu was here, Wang Feng knew that he was going to be beaten up. You reap what you sow. That girl Jinning and Rongrong had tripped and made that girl cry. At that time, Wang Feng roughly knew that he would definitely be beaten. He was already mentally prepared, so he wasn't surprised. However, if he were to be beaten up now, given his current state, he couldn't back down. Wang Feng coughed and said seriously, Logically speaking, if I'm kicked, it should be because I'm not strong enough. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been kicked. Don't you think so? The moment he said that, the sword Dalu's face darkened. This kid seems to be a tough nut to crack. No wonder he dares to bully Rongrong. However, right after that, Wang Feng hurriedly said, However, as a senior, it is only right and proper for you to stand up for your juniors. It is only human nature. Therefore, I think that I should be kicked back. However what? The sword Dalu frowned. However, you can't attack me while I'm in such a state, right? Wang Feng smiled and said, I can be blown away by a gust of wind now. You're a titled Dalu who has dominated the continent for more than 10 years. Even if you want to kick me a few times, it'll be my blessing. The sword Dalu was speechless. SSS, this kid knows how to talk. The sword Dalu glanced at Wang Feng. Indeed, if I bully this kid now, I'll lose my title as a titled Dalu. You're beating around the bush. Aren't you just trying to make me wait for you to recover before kicking you? The sword Dalu looked at Wang Feng proudly. Don't worry, kid. I'm not that petty. I'll let you recover. Not only that, I'll bring Rongrong and the others here later. You can use all your skills in front of them. I won't use my martial soul, but I'll kick you. If you can take 3 kicks from me, I'll let go of what happened to Rongrong. The sword Dalu had lived for several decades, so he naturally knew what Tang Weilin was implying. He disdained to bully a junior like this. Senior is truly magnanimous. You have a sword bone and righteous energy. You are truly a rare man in this world. Wang Feng praised. Even with the sword Daluo's thick skin, he still blushed slightly when he heard Wang Feng's words. This kid had a way with words. In that case, I'll just have to be a little gentler when I kick him, the sword Daluo thought to himself. Since Senior is so benevolent, why don't you protect me and help me recover? After all, this place is quite dangerous, Wang Feng continued. The sword Daluo was momentarily stunned when he heard this, and he couldn't help but chuckle. Brat, aren't you being impolite? You want me, a titled Daluo, to protect you? You're lucky that I saved your life. You should recover here. If you're unlucky and another soul beast comes, you deserve it. I have to return to Rongrong's side first. After he finished speaking, the sword Daluo snorted coldly and kept his sword on the ground before flying away on his sword. When he saw the pillar of light disappear, he came here alone. He didn't ask Zhao Wuji, Rongrong, and the rest to come with him. After all, it was too dangerous, and he still had to look for them. Furthermore, there weren't any soul beasts nearby. The terrifying and mysterious pillar of light had caused all the soul beasts around to disappear. Therefore, even though the sword Daluo spoke harshly, he wasn't worried about Tang Wulin's safety. As he watched the sword Daluo leave, Wang Feng revealed a sly smile on his face. It's good that he's gone. Wang Feng dragged his body towards the thorny Xuanwu tortoise that had already fainted. His eyes were filled with the desire of a man who had been abstinent for 30 years looking at a beautiful woman lying on his bed. Old turtle, it seems like you're destined to become my soul ring. Wang Feng walked to the Xuanwu turtle's side. The Xuanwu turtle looked at Wang Feng weakly, as if it was too lazy to move. It seemed like it was waiting for death. You want to absorb me as your soul ring? The Xuanwu turtle looked at Wang Feng with disdain. It was 30,000 years old, and it was a soul beast like a turtle. Its intelligence wasn't low. Damn, are you looking down on me? Wang Feng laughed coldly. Right now, the energy from the meteoric tear was nourishing his body. This was a great opportunity to absorb a soul ring. This was because he didn't have to wait for the soul ring's energy to tear him into pieces before activating the meteoric tear. After a while, he could absorb the soul ring while the meteoric tear recovered rapidly. It was perfect. Wang Feng didn't hesitate. He retrieved a short sword from his ring and stabbed it a few times before ending the Xuanwu turtle's life. A black soul ring quickly rose from the Xuanwu turtle's body. Wang Feng sat cross-legged and quickly controlled the soul power that he had recovered. He guided the black soul ring to envelop his body and started to absorb it. Almost instantaneously, soul power surged into Wang Feng's body like a group of bandits entering a village. It started to wreak havoc in Wang Feng's body. This was because the Xuanwu turtle wasn't like the Icea emperor lizard. It wasn't willing to become Wang Feng's soul ring. Therefore, Wang Feng couldn't control this enormous amount of energy. He could only let this soul power, which was beyond his imagination, wreak havoc in every part of his body. It was almost the same as the first time he absorbed the soul ring. Wang Feng's body, which was already torn to shreds, was almost completely crushed. Blood started to flow from all over Wang Feng's body again. The pain caused Wang Feng to recall the first time he had reforged his body. However, the difference was that the meteoric tear surged with extremely gentle energy this time. Immediately after, the 30,000-year soul ring's energy wreaked havoc in Wang Feng's body, and the meteoric tear immediately repaired it. It wasn't like the first time, where the meteoric tear only started to repair his body after it was completely destroyed. Simply put, it was repairing his body while destroying it. The first time, it was repairing his body after it was destroyed. Although his body wasn't being reforged, it was as good as being reforged. This pain and exhilaration seemed to be synchronized. It was true pain and pleasure. After the soul ring's energy wreaked havoc in Wang Feng's body, it realized that it couldn't destroy it. Finally, the green lotus in his sea of consciousness bloomed. The black lotus was as black as ink, and the soul ring's energy surged into the black lotus. Roar, roar, roar. A furious roar suddenly rang out in his sea of consciousness. It was the Xuanwu turtle's spiritual consciousness. To Wang Feng, it was filled with anger. It wasn't that easy to absorb it. A mere rank 30 soul master wanted to absorb the soul ring of a 30,000-year thorned Xuanwu turtle. The thorned Xuanwu turtle's consciousness was extremely domineering, and it was filled with a ferocious and brutal aura. Black Lotus. Wang Feng's body twitched violently. A storm seemed to be brewing in his sea of consciousness, and it was washing away his soul. In the center, the Black Lotus released a black light barrier that instantly enveloped the Xuanwu turtle's consciousness. The Black Lotus was able to absorb all kinds of furious auras. It was extremely effective against the Xuanwu turtle's consciousness. Chapter 120. As the energy of the soul ring surged into the Black Lotus, the Black Lotus grew rapidly. Finally, it bloomed completely. Every Black Lotus petal seemed to have been moistened by water. There were even barbs on it. It looked sinister and was filled with a mysterious and evil aura. However, this Xuanwu tortoise has lived for too long. Its consciousness is too strong. The Black Lotus has just been born and can only absorb most of it. There is still a small part that it can't resist. Wang Feng muttered in his mind. A 30,000-year soul beast was too exaggerated. Little 3 was considered strong among ordinary soul masters. It had absorbed a 2,000-year man-faced demon spider. 30,000 years. A 15-fold difference. Just the soul power alone was enough to make a soul master of 40 to 50 years explode. Ordinary soul masters only dared to absorb a 20,000-year soul ring when they were at rank 60. Damn it, humanoid martial spirit. If you don't come out now, I will really be gone. Wang Feng roared in his mind. The Black Lotus had absorbed most of the angry consciousness of the Xuanwu tortoise. However, even if there was a small part left, it was difficult for Wang Feng's consciousness to withstand the impact. It seemed to have heard Wang Feng's call. Somehow, Wang Feng could feel something inside his body being triggered. Almost at the same time, in Soto City, a young man in a room suddenly opened his eyes and muttered, "It's this aura again. It has appeared again after 6 years." Boom! If one was outside, they would be able to see 12 pairs of energy wings on Wang Feng's back. They were demonic and filled with an extreme sense of evil. The 7 blood streaks shot toward Wang Feng's limbs and converged at his heart. Fortunately, the aura was not dense and was not as strong as the Pango axe. A humanoid martial spirit finally appeared in Wang Feng's sea of consciousness. Damn it! What is this martial spirit? These wings, are they an angel? Why are they black? However, I feel that they are too illusory. They are not solid at all. Wang Feng looked at the humanoid martial spirit. This time he could see it clearly. At the same time, the remaining consciousness of a Xuanwu tortoise was absorbed by the humanoid martial spirit. After absorbing the consciousness, the humanoid martial spirit's illusory state was slightly better. Then it disappeared. At the same time, Wang Feng's body gradually recovered. Wang Feng was stunned. Disappeared? This martial spirit is a little strange, Wang Feng murmured. He felt that it should be very powerful, but it was very blurry, as if it had been pixelated. It seemed that the mosaic would only disappear a little after absorbing all kinds of energy, such as the consciousness of the black tortoise. However, Wang Feng still didn't know how to activate this humanoid martial spirit. He was somewhat confused. However, none of this mattered anymore. Wang Feng had finished absorbing the soul ring. Wang Feng saw that the Black Lotus had already fully matured. It gave off an evil aura and a pitch-black light. The fully bloomed Black Lotus gave Wang Feng an extremely strange aura. The Black Lotus petals have barbs, so the soul skill should give it the ability to reflect attacks, right? I just don't know how much it can reflect. Wang Feng took a deep breath and gently plucked off the petals of the black lotus. Then he poured in his soul power. In an instant, the lotus petal shone brightly and turned into a ray of black light. Almost instantly, Wang Feng felt that his body had become extremely hard, as if it was covered in a layer of dense spikes. It was an increase in defense. However, he would only know how much he had improved after being beaten up. I can feel the increase in my defense. There should be other effects, right? Let's test it out if someone can beat me. As there was no test subject, Wang Feng could only give up. After thinking for a moment, he said, "This third soul skill, let's call it Thorny Lotus." After absorbing the soul ring, Wang Feng felt that his body had become stronger again. Abundant soul power flowed throughout his body. It should jump directly from rank 30 to rank 33. Most of the soul ring's energy has been absorbed by the Black Lotus. The Black Lotus's defensive ability should be stronger than before, at least doubled. This means that the Black Lotus can withstand the Titan Giant Ape's leap for at least 5 seconds. This was an ability that the Black Lotus possessed, not a soul skill. The Green Lotus Seed had its own special ability in every form it bloomed. The Golden Lotus's powerful healing and recovery effect was all-around recovery, temporarily increasing one's soul power rank. The Red Lotus's terrifying karmic fire was able to absorb flames. The Black Lotus's innate defensive ability was able to absorb all kinds of violent auras and convert them into energy. Rank 33. The Golden Lotus can temporarily increase one's soul power by 3 levels. I'm equivalent to rank 36. My current physical fitness is at least twice as strong as before. Wang Feng opened his eyes slightly. However, it shouldn't be enough to wield the Panga axe. That situation just now was too dangerous. With one swing of the axe, his entire body was broken, and he could only be a fish on the chopping board. Wang Feng didn't want that. But just when Wang Feng thought that he had finished absorbing the soul ring, suddenly, his chest started to become extremely hot. Wang Feng touched his chest and was startled. It was as if something was about to come out. This could be a soul bone. No, shouldn't soul bones drop? In the next moment, numerous bone spikes emerged from Wang Feng's chest, and in the blink of an eye, they extended to his upper body. From his waist to his shoulders, it was covered. The bone spikes were extremely dense. There was a hint of blue light in the pitch-black darkness. From afar, it looked like a pitch-black armor with a hint of blue light and an ancient aura. This is the thorny bone spikes on the thorny Xuanwu turtle's back. Wang Feng took a deep breath. Could it be an external soul bone? Soul bones, in the current Douluo world, were extremely rare and pure. Only 10,000-year-old beasts and above had a chance of dropping them. It was an existence that countless soul beasts yearned for. It could strengthen the soul master's various attributes. Even if it didn't carry any skills, it was still extremely useful. And an external soul bone was 1 in 10,000. Its preciousness was comparable to a top-grade soul bone. The biggest difference was that this external soul bone could grow with its owner's strength. The first 2 soul beasts didn't have any soul bones. Wang Feng was actually quite regretful, especially the Ice Emperor Lizard, which was also a 10,000-year-old beast, didn't have any soul bones. Therefore, Wang Feng didn't consider the matter of soul bones. He didn't expect this thorny Xuanwu turtle to give birth to an external soul bone. Almost at the moment this external soul bone attached to his body, his speed didn't increase, but the hardness of every part of his body increased by a lot. Simply speaking, his defense had increased by a lot. Perhaps only after being beaten would Wang Feng know how much his defense had increased. Wait, damn, this thing is a bit heavy. Wang Feng suddenly took a step forward. In an instant, a deep dent suddenly appeared on the ground. A huge pressure came, causing Wang Feng to suck in a breath of cold air. Does it carry its own weight? Wang Feng looked at the deep dent in the footprint. It's at least 4,000 kilograms, right? But it seems normal. That thorny Xuanwu turtle was at least 10 tons, so it's not strange for this external soul bone to be so heavy. Moreover, As my strength increases, it will also become heavier. To Wang Feng, this was considered a natural weight. Wang Feng was also worried about forging a new weight-bearing protective equipment. In the future, when he was training with weights, he could directly reveal this soul bone. It could train his soul power and body, and his defense would be strong. After wearing clothes, it was completely impossible to see its shape. It was very thin. Even if it was revealed, it would still be very beautiful. When attacking, he could directly retrieve the soul bone, and his physical fitness would increase greatly. It could cause an unexpected attack to the enemy. This external soul bone could be said to be very special. It was also very useful. It was completely beyond imagination. Chapter 121. I don't know what else it can be used for, but its defensive abilities should be very strong, right? Furthermore, will it give me the ability to reflect attacks? Wang Feng touched the breastplate formed by the bone spikes. It looked smooth, but in reality, it was because there were too many bone spikes. Looking from afar, it was impossible to tell if there was a single bone spike. As he thought about this, Wang Feng revealed a weird smile. The sword Dalu didn't use his soul power or martial soul, but he kicked me like this. You should feel uncomfortable, right? However, Wang Feng had to try all of this before he could be sure. Anyway, he would have a chance later. This external soul bone came from the thorny Xuanwu turtle. Let's call it the Xuanwu armor. I think it should have other uses. I'll think about it when the time comes. If not, I'll be satisfied. Wang Feng thought to himself. Wang Feng had benefited a lot from this battle. Apart from the soul ring and external soul bone, he had also gained a lot of understanding of the Pangu axe. After using it, Wang Feng finally realized just how monstrous this Pangu axe, which could be called the strongest attack, was. There weren't any flashy moves. It was just a swing of the axe. Even the 30,000-year thorny Xuanwu turtle, which had extremely strong defensive abilities, was half dead. Although it wasn't killed instantly, it was still very strong. It was earth-shattering. This was Wang Feng's greatest trump card. However, it was also very draining. According to Wang Feng's estimation, he could only use it after he reached rank 40. His body had to keep up. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to unleash its full power. Furthermore, he could easily kill himself. After absorbing the soul ring, Wang Feng put on his clothes and walked out. Not long later, the sword Dalu and the rest finally appeared in front of him. Tang Xin was also there. Only Xiao Wu wasn't. After the sword Dalu appeared, Wang Feng finally knew why he was abandoned. Xiao Wu didn't choose to go back with him. Wang Feng. After seeing Wang Feng, the rest of them opened their eyes wide. They immediately walked towards Wang Feng and surrounded him. Ning Rongrong was the first to run in front of Wang Feng. She stared at Wang Feng with her watery eyes. She seemed to want to do something, but she snorted in the end. You're fine. Grandpa Jian lied to me and said you were severely injured. He caused me. At this point, Ning Rongrong made a sound, turned around, and stopped talking. Wang Feng glanced at the sword Dalu. Right now, this titled Dalu was also looking at him. There was a look of astonishment in his eyes, but there was also a faint smile on his face. Damn, why are you so energetic? Oscar walked over with a few grilled sausages in his hands. When the sword Dalu had returned, he'd told them that Wang Feng was injured and couldn't move around. There weren't any soul beasts nearby, so he'd asked them to pick him up. So, Oscar prepared the healing sausages in advance. He didn't expect that. You're more energetic than me? My self-recovery ability is super strong. Everyone must get used to it in the future. There's no need to worry about me. Wang Feng waved his hand at the crowd. Oscar, everyone. Who's worried about you? Ning Rongrong said. Don't flatter yourself. We're all worried about Xiao Wu. After speaking, Ning Rongrong lifted her chin and looked at Wang Feng. But at this moment, Fatima suddenly interrupted and said, That's right. Is that so? But why did I hear someone mumbling about Wang Feng just now? I want to see Wang Feng. The person who spoke didn't even wipe away the tears at the corner of her eyes. As Ma Hongjun spoke, he looked at Ning Rongrong's tears that had just dried at the corner of her eyes. Ning Rongrong's face turned red. She angrily said to Ma Hongjun, "Fatty Ma, do you want to die? Grandpa Jian, is this fatty bullying me?" Everyone laughed. The sword Douluo's mouth twitched. He whispered, "You're usually quite smart. He didn't say anything about you. Why are you so anxious? Aren't you admitting that it's you?" Ning Rongrong didn't say anything. She just lowered her head. She was smart, but she was a little stupid at this moment. Ma Hongjun thought to himself, "A woman's IQ drops when she has a man she likes." At this moment, Tang San walked over. He looked at Wang Feng and whispered, "Big brother Feng, have you seen Xiao Wu?" As soon as he asked this question, everyone suddenly stopped. Even Ning Rongrong raised her head again, her face slightly red as she stared at Wang Feng. "Don't worry, Xiao Wu should have been released." Wang Feng thought for a moment and whispered, "Did you see that pillar of light just now?" When the Titan giant ape saw the light pillar, it panicked. Then, the sound of a cow mooing came from the center. When heard the sound, the Titan giant ape threw the two of us away and ran away. Everyone nodded. Bull mooing? Could it be the sky azure bull python? The sword Douluo said, "It seems that even a soul beast of that level would be afraid of the god in the pillar of light. Otherwise, it wouldn't have left the two of you behind in such a panic." Everyone relaxed a little when they heard the sword Douluo's words. "So, little three, I promise you, don't worry. Xiao should be very safe now. Because of that pillar of light, all the nearby soul beasts in that area have run away. She should be unconscious now. Maybe she will find us on her own later." Wang Feng patted Tang San's shoulder. Tang San calmed down a little. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. At this moment, the sword Douluo slowly spoke. "Kid, since you've recovered, you won't promise me anything. You won't go back on your word, right?" Everyone was stunned and looked at the sword Douluo in confusion. Only Zhao Wuji seemed to think of something and looked at Wang Feng with a playful expression. It was like you didn't do your homework and was punished by the teacher. Then, you found that your desk mate didn't do his homework either. You instantly felt better and wanted to see your desk mate make a fool of himself, but you would still comfort your desk mate, "Don't worry." Just like now, Zhao Wuji walked out and patted Wang Feng's shoulder. "Wang Feng, don't worry. It'll be over soon. It's not a big deal. It'll be over in a while." He was beaten up by a titled Douluo and had a bloody nose and a swollen face. Zhao Wuji touched the bump that had just disappeared. "Teacher, what did Wang Feng promise this sword Douluo?" Oscar asked. Everyone was also puzzled. Only Zhu Zhuqing seemed to have guessed something and glanced at Ning Rongrong. Zhao Wuji smiled, but didn't say anything. Wang Feng's expression changed slightly, but he didn't say anything. He said in a deep voice, "Do you want to do it in front of so many people? What else?" The sword Douluo took a few steps forward and said indifferently, "You're at level 30. Don't say that I'm bullying you. Use all the moves you can. I won't use my martial soul or soul power. If you can block 3 of my kicks, you'll pass." Just as he finished speaking, everyone's expressions changed drastically. 3 kicks? Even if a titled Douluo didn't use his soul power or his martial soul, 3 kicks wouldn't be something that a rank 30 soul master could withstand. Moreover, the sword Douluo was an assault-type soul master. His physical fitness was naturally extremely strong. Zhao Wuji was beaten up by Tang Hao and was in a similar situation. His face was bruised and swollen, and it took him a few days to recover. But Zhao Wuji was a soul sage over level 70. Furthermore, he had the extremely strong Vajra bear martial soul. He couldn't withstand it. Wang Feng, these 3 kicks would most likely cripple him. Chapter 122. Ning Rongrong was so scared that her face turned pale. She quickly grabbed the sword Douluo and said, "Grandpa Jian, it's none of his business. You can't kick him like that. Otherwise, I won't talk to you anymore." The others wanted to persuade her, but they didn't dare to. The sword Douluo shook his head and said, "Rongrong, you don't understand. If you said that before, I might have let him go on account of your pleading. But just now, when I found this kid, he personally agreed to my request. This kid was so ambitious when he spoke just now. It's just 3 kicks. He's not afraid at all. If you ask me to let him go now, won't you be embarrassing him? Rong Rong, do you want to see this kid break his promise? Or do you think a man who breaks his promise is reliable? The sword Douluo finished his powerful words. Everyone looked at Wang Feng in disbelief. How can you say such big words? Ning Rongrong didn't know how to refute. Wang Feng, since when did I say something like that? Wang Feng's mouth twitched. Wasn't he courting death by saying that in his state just now? However, Wang Feng could tell that the sword Douluo was an experienced man. He was giving him a taste of his own medicine. Ning Rongrong's pleading was completely useless. The sword Douluo instantly resolved it. The sword Douluo looked at Wang Feng and smiled. I'm definitely going to kick him. Senior is right. Wang Feng coughed a few times and said righteously, a man of indomitable spirit is a man of his word. He can't go back on his words. Rong, let Senior Jian do it. The sword Douluo frowned slightly. Senior Jian? Why does it sound like he's scolding someone? At this moment, Zhu Zhuqing, who had been silent all this time, spoke. Senior, these 3 kicks are made up of 8 people. They are all students of a Shrek Academy. Can you bear it for Wang Feng together? Zhu Zhuqing, who had always been quiet, suddenly spoke. Everyone was stunned. The sword Do also faltered slightly upon hearing this, and he turned to Zhu Zhuqing with a hint of surprise in his eyes. That's right. Ning Rongrong reacted and quickly said, Xiao Wu isn't here. The 7 of us are companions, so we should bear it together. Grandpa Jian, is that all right? That's good. We can also feel Senior's strength. Dai Mubai agreed. Not everyone had the chance to spar with the title de law. They were all monsters, and they all had pride in their hearts. Senior, please give us a chance. Ma Hongjun chuckled. Tang Sin stepped forward with a grim look on his face. If they gathered the strength of 8 people, they might really be able to withstand 3 kicks. Even if Xiao Wu wasn't here and there were only 7 of them, they should be able to do it. The 6 of them immediately stepped forward, and the sword Douluo was slightly moved. Perhaps he should give these young kids a chance? After all, this kid wouldn't be able to withstand my 3 kicks alone. Rong seems to treat this kid differently. If I really stomp on him too hard and she gets angry with me, that wouldn't be good. Wang Feng was stunned when he saw this. He was slightly moved, but he immediately became angry. Why are you guys getting involved? I alone am enough to show off. Get out of my way. No need. Wang Feng shouted with a serious face. I'll bear the consequences of my own actions. I know what I've done. I'm willing to take these 3 kicks. Besides, I promise to bear it alone. It has nothing to do with you guys. Enough nonsense, Senior Jian. Come on. It's just 3 kicks. I can take it. His voice was loud and full of righteousness. After he finished speaking, his entire body exuded a special charm. Everyone was stunned by Wang Feng's words. As expected of the brother Feng, I know. He can bear it himself and won't drag his companions down. Tang San's blood was slightly warm when he saw this. This kid is quite fierce. Zhao Wuji sighed in his heart. Back then, when he was beaten up by Tang Hao, he was submissive. He was not like Wang Feng, who dared to be so righteous and fearless. Ning Rongrong looked at Wang Feng. Her eyes were sparkling, and her face was slightly red. Zhu Zhuqing glanced at Wang Feng, but did not say anything. The others also looked at him and were speechless. They were impressed. That was a title Douluo. Good. The sword Douluo was stunned. He looked at Wang Feng seriously and smiled. Then all of you spread out. Don't waste any more time. Let's end this quickly. It's almost dawn. Everyone could only spread out when they heard that. Then they stared at Wang Feng and clenched their fists. Wang Feng narrowed his eyes. A title Douluo's 3 kicks. He did not dare to be careless. These 3 kicks might be much weaker than the Titan Giant Ape's leap, but Wang Feng could not afford to be careless. It depended on how much strength the sword Douluo used. The Titan Giant Ape's leap did not use any soul skills. It was purely physical strength. Thinking of this, Wang Feng had already prepared the mysterious underworld armor under his clothes. Everyone looked at him. Wang Feng thought for a moment, and his body jerked. Following this, 3 soul rings slowly lit up from his body. Purple, black. At that instant, everyone was stunned. Even the sword Douluo was stunned. On the way here, he had heard that Wang Feng was a rare talent. Rong often said that Wang Feng had 1,000-year and 10,000-year soul rings, even though he was only rank 30. However, he did not expect him to absorb another 10,000-year soul ring. It seems like he must have absorbed the thorny Xuanwu turtle. Interesting. That's a 30,000-year soul beast. Even a rank 60 soul master would not dare to absorb it. The sword Douluo squinted. No wonder he dared to take my 3 kicks. The Xuanwu turtle has very strong defensive abilities. It seems like I can't hold back my strength in these 3 kicks. He was a titled Douluo. Naturally, he could guess where Wang Feng's soul rings came from. It was within his expectations. However, everyone in the distance was even more shocked. Damn, another 10,000-year soul ring. When did Wang Feng absorb it? Oscar muttered. Even the trashiest soul ring of his is a 1,000-year soul ring. It's not an ordinary 1,000-year soul ring. It's an 8,000-year soul ring. Furthermore, Brother Feng's 3rd soul ring should be at least a 20,000-year soul ring. Tang said softly. Based on the color of the soul rings, he could make a more accurate judgment. Ning Rong was a little emotional. Her face turned red, but she did not say anything. Dai Mubai nodded slightly and smiled. It's all right. I'm mentally prepared. Ma Hongjun was envious. Even if you gave me a 30,000-year soul ring, I wouldn't dare to absorb it. I wonder what soul skill it is. Zhu Zhuqing was silent. Zhao Wuji's eyes shone brightly as he watched, at this moment, Wang Feng's golden lotus spun. First, he used the divine state on himself. Following that, his black lotus spun and used his 3rd soul skill, thorny lotus. Finally, a black light barrier appeared from the black lotus and enveloped Wang Feng. Seeing Wang Feng's martial soul, the sword Daluo's eyes shone brightly. You used this light barrier to block the Titan giant ape for 2 seconds, right? However, my kick isn't that simple. The sword Douluo kept his sword. He was a little surprised as he looked at Wang Feng. However, he did not say anything. He leaped up and kicked the light barrier. Wang Feng focused his gaze. The two collided. Boom! A muffled sound suddenly rang out. Chapter 123. The sword Douluo's expression changed the moment his foot landed on the light barrier. He felt a huge force rebounding from the light barrier, which made his foot feel numb. There were only some cracks on the light barrier. The sword Douluo was just testing the waters with this kick. He didn't manage to break the Black Lotus defense. After all, he wasn't the Titan giant ape. Furthermore, the Black Lotus had absorbed a 30,000-year soul ring. It was a mature Black Lotus, so the defensive light barrier was even stronger. Rebounding force. The sword Douluo was shocked. Is this defensive light barrier really that strong? When the crowd saw this, they were all stunned. Wang Feng was the one who stood on the mysterious black light barrier and blocked the Titan giant ape's attack for more than 2 seconds. Now, he couldn't even kick a title Douluo away. The sword Douluo was sent flying by the rebounding force. Fortunately, he changed his position in midair and landed steadily on the ground. He didn't embarrass himself. No one could tell. They thought the sword Douluo had returned because he couldn't break the light barrier with his kick. However, they didn't know that Wang Feng's eyes widened as he stared at the sword Douluo's foot. He was trembling slightly, but it wasn't obvious. With a defensive light barrier that could rebounding force, it seemed like his strength had increased by more than 1 level. Wang Feng was sure that the rebounding force was not weak at all. At least it could reflect everything. Not bad. It seems like I have to use my full strength, the sword Douluo said. After he finished speaking, the sword Douluo used his other foot. The one he used just now was a little numb. This little guy's defensive light barrier is a little strange. It seems to be able to reflect everything. After his voice trailed off, the sword Douluo rose up into the air, and just the fearsome aura emanating from his body struck fear into everyone's hearts. Boom! He kicked the same spot on the light barrier. Crack, crack, crack. In the next moment, the light barrier suddenly cracked. However, The sword also retreated quickly and landed on the ground. This time, Wang Feng saw clearly that both of his feet were trembling. 666. Wang Fengxin thought to himself, even if he doesn't use his soul power and martial soul, I can't underestimate the sword Dalu just based on his physical strength. He definitely used his full strength just now. If he had kicked me, I would be in trouble. Fortunately, this light shield is too strong and can even reflect it. This time, he should not be feeling good, right? The sword Douluo's injuries were actually lighter than Wang Feng had expected. Although he had suffered the same force from the 2 kicks, his physical fitness was too strong. Only his legs felt a little numb. When everyone saw this, they couldn't help but take a deep breath. That was 2 kicks from a titled Dalu. Zhao Wuji muttered to himself. It took him 2 kicks to break that fellow's light barrier. His defensive strength isn't much weaker than my martial soul true body, right? What kind of martial soul is this? It seems to be even stronger than when it blocked the Titan giant ape. He had good eyesight and could tell. The others could only feel the shock. Previously, when they were fighting the Titan giant ape, they hadn't known. At this moment, the sword Dalu was only barely able to break through the light barrier after using 2 kicks. Only from the outside could they sense just how terrifyingly powerful the black light barrier was. It's the last kick. Kid, are you ready? The sword Dalu gently swung his leg as a hint of a smile appeared on his face. I'm not going to go easy on you. I'm serious about every kick. Come on. Wang Feng puffed out his chest. Mysterious underworld armor. It's all up to you now. Don't disappoint me. I'm in my best condition now. His divine soul skill increased all his attributes by 3 times. The mysterious underworld armor's defensive boost. His physical fitness increased by a level, and the thorny lotus defensive boost. Wang Feng didn't even know how he was injured. The sword Douluo leaped lightly. 1 kick. He kicked Wang Feng's chest. Everyone in the distance held their breaths as they watched. In the next moment, a terrifying force rippled out from the 2 of them like a wave, causing the surrounding leaves to rustle in the wind. Almost at the same time, Wang Feng and the sword Douluo's expressions changed. Wang Feng's expression changed as he spat out a mouthful of blood. He stumbled a few steps back and almost fell, but he didn't. The sword Dalu stood where he was, his legs trembling uncontrollably. What the hell is that thing in front of his chest? Why is it so hard? No one knew the shock in the sword Dalu's heart. With my full strength, I can even send Zhao Wuji flying. He actually only took a few steps back. Furthermore, an extremely terrifying force bounced back from his chest. In fact, it even made me feel weak all over my body. Is this weakening my body's defense? The sword Dalu couldn't figure it out. Even without his martial soul and soul power, he couldn't even unleash 1/20th of his true abilities. However, his physical fitness was definitely very strong. The sword Dalu was a little confused. It was one thing for the black barrier to reflect his strength, but this black barrier was even more strange. This kid seems to be even weirder. Other than being able to reflect my power, he can also weaken my defense. He's even more porcupine than a porcupine. Wang Feng didn't know the shock in the sword Dalu's heart. Senior's kick is really powerful, really powerful. Wang Feng said in admiration as he wiped the blood off his face. I was too arrogant previously. He wasn't really injured. In fact, he had forced himself to spit out this mouthful of blood. He had no choice. He had to put on a show to give the sword Dalu some face. Otherwise, if he was really fine, the sword Dalu's face would turn black, and he would still be remembered. At this moment, the stunned crowd in the distance quickly walked out. Good kid. The sword Dalu was silent for a moment. He hurriedly circulated his soul power to stop his trembling legs. He smiled and said, not bad at all. I don't think any soul warrior below rank 70 can take 3 kicks from me. You're only rank 30, but you can do it. You've really impressed me. Wang Feng thought to himself, I've used most of my abilities. How can I not take a kick from a titled Dalu? Do you think I don't care about my reputation? However, the sword Dalu probably wouldn't be able to discover the external soul bone on him. After all, it was too rare. Wang Feng, are you all right? Ning Rong Rong was no longer arrogant. She walked over and asked with concern. After she finished speaking, Ning Rongrong turned around and said angrily, Grandpa Jian, you're a title Dalu. Even if you didn't use your martial soul or soul power, couldn't you have used a little less strength? How can you be so ruthless? He's only rank 30. The sword Douluo was speechless. I'm the one who's injured. The sword Douluo couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Although that kid spat out a mouthful of blood, the sword Douluo could tell that he was pretending. He probably did it to give me face. In fact, he probably didn't even suffer as much damage as I did. He's really helping an outsider. However, the sword Douluo wouldn't say this out loud. He also wanted to save face. All right, Rong, I have to go. The sword Douluo summoned his 7-kill sword and looked at Wang Feng indifferently. Wang Feng, I won't pursue the matter between you and Rong. Zhao Wuji, if Rong gets hurt in the Shrek Academy again, it won't be as simple as 3 kicks next time. Oomph. After speaking, the sword Douluo left on his sword. His cold snort sounded. Everyone slowly heaved a sigh of relief. The pressure brought by a title Douluo was too great. Not long after the sword Douluo left, a bouncing figure walked out of the forest. Chapter 124. I was lucky and met a 30,000-year thorny Xuanwu turtle. It happened to be severely injured by that light pillar. I was also very miserable at that time and fainted. This old turtle wanted to eat me, but Senior Sword arrived in time and subdued this Xuanwu turtle. So I absorbed this thorny Xuanwu turtle's soul ring. After the sword Douluo left, everyone asked about the soul ring. Wang Feng didn't hide it. After all, even the sword Douluo knew about it, so there was nothing to hide. But at the same time, he didn't mention a word about the Panga axe. The Panga axe was his trump card, and Wang Feng would never reveal a word about it. This luck is too good, Oscar exclaimed. Tang Xin met a 2,000-year man-faced demon spider and even got a strange thing. It's extremely poisonous. Just now, that damn fatty accidentally touched it and was poisoned. Even my sausage couldn't cure it. You met a 30,000-year, thorny, Xuanwu turtle directly? Oscar was talking about when they found Tang Xin first. Tang Xin happened to kill the man-faced demon spider and was found by Mr. Dragon and Mrs. Snake, who knew that when Zhao Wuji and the others rushed over, Zhao Wuji didn't reveal Tang Xin's identity because the sword Douluo was there and Mr. Dragon and Mrs. Snake left dejectedly. Wang Feng smiled and thought to himself, Little 3 really met the man-faced demon spider. That strange thing should be the external soul bone, the 8th spider spear. There was a strong poison on it. It's nothing. Maybe Xiao Wu's luck will be good later, and she will also reach rank 30 and absorb a 1,000-year soul ring. Wang Feng said with a smile. I don't believe it. Ma Hongjun immediately shook his head. How can you all be so lucky? If Xiao Wu can be so lucky, Ma Hongjun will walk back upside down. I won't touch a woman for a month. Everyone. Wang Feng. At this moment, the bouncing figure in the distance quickly leaped toward them. In just a moment, she appeared in front of everyone. It was Xiao Wu. Brother. Brother Feng. Teacher Zhao. So you are here. Xiao Wu looked at everyone in surprise. Xiao Wu, are you okay? Tang San was shocked and hurried over. Are you hurt? Let me see. As he spoke, he sized up Xiao Wu. After discovering that Xiao Wu wasn't injured, he let out a sigh of relief. Brother, I'm fine. Xiao Wu was a little shy as Tang San sized her up. I'm super lucky. Did you see that beam of light just now? After the Titan giant ape saw the pillar of light and heard the sound of a bull's roar, it first threw Brother Feng out, then threw me out. Big Brother Feng is fine, so why would anything happen to me? Hearing this, everyone fell silent. Sure enough, it was exactly as Wang Feng had said. It seemed that the situation was really like this. However, Ma Hongjun suddenly had a bad feeling when he heard the words super lucky. Xiao Wu, what level are you at now? Ning Rongrong suddenly asked. Me? Xiao Wu giggled. I'm level 31 now. Everyone, swish, swish, swish. Several gazes landed on Ma Hongjun. You're level 31 too? Ma Hongjun swallowed hard. Yes. Xiao Wu had a relieved smile on her face. After I was thrown out, the world spun and I fainted. When I woke up, I suddenly discovered that I was level 30 and there were many soul beasts around me. I picked a 1,000-year-old soul beast and killed it. After absorbing it, I came out to find you guys. Ma Hongjun, fatty, walk back upside down. You're not allowed to touch women for a month. Dai Mubai patted Ma Hongjun's shoulder and said sympathetically. Everyone laughed out loud. How is that possible? Everyone's luck is so good. Ma Hongjun's face was pale. He had just said it casually. He hadn't expected Xiao Wu to appear. It was exactly as Wang Feng had said. Tang Sen looked at Brother Feng with amusement. Brother Feng, have you been blessed with that mouth of yours? How could you be so sure? He couldn't help but recall 6 years ago when Brother Feng said that his martial soul might be blue silvergrass. And it turned out to be true. I really have to hand it to him. What were you guys laughing about? Xiao Wu asked. Ning Rongrong pulled Xiao Wu aside and whispered something in her ear. Xiao Wu also laughed. While he was laughing, he glanced at Big Brother Feng in surprise. The group chatted and laughed as they prepared to return to the academy. Brother, is your second soul Ring the 1,000-faced demon spider? How'd you kill it? Xiao Wu stuck to Tang San's side and asked. Hearing this, Tang San was suddenly stunned. He slapped his head and said, If you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten. As he spoke, he took out a crossbow from his 24 moonlit bridges. The arrow was ready to be fired. Everyone gathered around and looked at it curiously. Zhuge Divine Crossbow? Wang Feng looked at the crossbow and thought, Tang San, what is this? Oscar sized up the mysterious weapon in Tang San's hand. This is the hidden weapon I used to kill the man-faced demon spider. Tang San didn't seem to want to hide it from everyone. Xiao Wu had returned safely, and he was in a very good mood. He said, This is called the Zhuge Divine Crossbow. It is a type of hidden weapon. It belongs to the hidden weapon category. This hidden weapon doesn't need soul power to activate it, and it can cause a lot of damage to the enemy. As he spoke, Tang San raised the Zhuge Divine Crossbow and pressed a button on a big tree in the distance. Everyone only saw a flash of light, and a few sharp sounds broke through the air. Puff, puff, puff. A big tree in the distance that needed at least 3 or 4 people to wrap their arms around had more than 10 thumb-size holes. Immediately, everyone was shocked. The speed of the hidden weapon was too fast. Even Zhu Zhuqing, who was an agility type, had a hard time dodging it. There are a total of 16 arrows on it, and they can all be fired at once. It's just that the force of the arrows is very strong, and it's very destructive to the crossbow itself. It needs to be changed frequently, and that's the biggest drawback. As he spoke, Tang Sen walked to a tree behind the big tree and hit the arrow with his palm. Everyone saw this, and even Wang Feng nodded secretly. This thing was indeed a very exaggerated weapon in the Douluo continent. It was like a modern person holding a pistol in the ancient times. Even an expert would be killed with one shot. The difference in civilization level. It directly pierced through a tree. Such power. This power is quite strong. Dai Mubai whispered. Even my white tiger Vidra transformation might not be able to block it. He was a warrior who was good at both offense and defense. And he was also very afraid of this kind of crossbow. Tang San smiled and nodded. The Zhuge Divine Crossbow is specially used to break through defenses. In addition, it has a certain degree of concealment and surprise. It's very difficult for ordinary soul masters to dodge it. Furthermore, I estimate that even soul warriors below rank 40 have a high chance of dying if they are hit by one, unless they are defensive soul warriors. Everyone was shocked again. Tang San, make one for me in the future, Oscar said. Oscar said, Ning Rongrong and I are both support type players. This kind of crossbow is very beneficial to us. Ning Rongrong also nodded. She glanced at Wang Feng and said with a smile, Wang Feng, if you dare to bully me in the future, I'll shoot you with this. Chapter 125. Tang Sen nodded. This thing wasn't complicated to make. It was very easy. It was just that the material requirements were right and soul masters didn't lack money. Shoot me. Wang Feng smiled and said, "Little San, let me try the power of this crossbow. I won't use any martial soul or soul power. Try firing it at me." Hearing this, everyone was stunned. They all looked at Wang Feng in surprise. "Brother Feng, weren't you injured by the sword Daluo's 3 kicks just now?" Xiao Wu asked curiously. "Also, without any defensive skills, do you want to resist the crossbow with just your physical body?" No one knew that Wang Feng vomited blood just now. He was actually not injured. After all, not everyone was a sword Daluo and could detect it. Wang Feng nodded. Actually, he just wanted to test his Xianming armor. He didn't use any skills and just wanted to see how strong the armor was. After all, there was no data, so Wang Feng could only estimate slowly. Just now, he gave himself a set of soul skills. Although his defense was very high, Wang Feng didn't know how much it increased individually. Is this suitable? If I don't use any defensive soul skills, I might not be able to withstand it with just my physical strength. Tang Sen was a little hesitant. If he wasn't careful, he could lose his life. "What are you afraid of?" Wang Feng grinned. "With Oscar's grilled sausage and my healing ability, you can aim at my chest later. Just don't aim at the vital parts. As long as I don't die, I can save him." Zhao Wuji wanted to stop him, but after thinking about it, it seemed to be true. This crossbow was controlled by someone. As long as it didn't hit the vital parts, it would be fine. I mainly want to test my physical defense. Wang Feng coughed a few times. As he spoke, Wang Feng stood beside the big tree that could be penetrated. It was about 30 meters. "All right then, I'll try." Tang San was a little nervous. What if Brother Feng was shot into a sieve? Without using a martial soul or soul power, even a soul warrior's physical strength was limited. "Wang Feng, what are you doing?" "I was just joking. How could I really shoot you with this?" "Tang San, you really listened to him. Hurry up and put down the divine crossbow." Ning Rongrong stomped her feet in anger, thinking that Wang Feng was angry with her. But at this moment, Tang San had already turned on the switch. Thud! Thud! The arrow pierced through the air as it shot towards Wang Feng. But almost instantly, another crisp sound rang out. Dong dong dong. It was as if he had hit a wall made of steel. Only a series of dull sounds could be heard. Then, everyone's eyes widened. The moment the 16 crossbow bolts hit Wang Feng's body, they were all broken. Then they scattered on the ground. It only made a few holes in Wang Feng's clothes. This incomparably shocking scene somewhat exceeded everyone's imagination. The power of the Xianming armor seems to have exceeded my expectations. Wang Fengxin thought to himself, "I don't feel anything at all. Moreover, the recoil is too strong." These arrows made of fine iron were directly broken by the recoil. The power of this hidden weapon was real. However, Wang Feng could faintly feel that this soul bone was an external soul bone of a 30,000-year soul beast. It would still have other abilities. If anyone else had this external soul bone, it would be useless. Just the increasing weight alone would be unbearable. But for me, it's perfect. Wang Fengxin thought to himself. Other than its strong defensive abilities, it also has a recoil effect. When the sword Douluo left, his body seemed a little strange. I think he should have other abilities. What could they be? Wang Feng still didn't know that the Xianming armor had the effect of weakening the opponent's defense. Isn't this too strong? At this moment, everyone was stunned. Just his body alone? Did he just block off 16 crossbow bolts? Ning Rongrong was also stunned. Is Wang Feng's physical strength so strong? He can block these crossbow bolts? Then Wang Feng laughed. This wasn't because of his physical body, but because of the Xianming armor. In terms of physical defense, he should be able to block the crossbow bolts, but he shouldn't feel nothing. Only Tang San looked at the broken crossbow bolts seriously. He looked at Wang Feng's chest. There was no damage. This wasn't much. However, even the crossbow bolt was broken. This was a little unbelievable. You have something on your chest, right? Zhao Wuji could tell that something was wrong. I'll tell you when we get back. Wang Feng laughed. Teacher Zhao was very sharp. The group of them slowly walked out of the Great Star Doe Forest. Wang Feng even turned around to take a look at the Great Star Doe Forest before he left. The next time he would come to the Great Stardow Forest would probably be when he reached rank 40. This trip could be considered his first adventure. He hoped that he could find the three little fellows next time. However, Wang Feng had gained a lot from this trip. His abilities had increased tremendously. Going in and coming out were two completely different levels of abilities. His physical strength had increased, the strength of the Pangu axe, the use of the Black Lotus, his third soul ring and soul skill, and his external soul bone. At the same time, Tang San's team of 7 became more and more coordinated. The battles over the past few days had made everyone very tense. Therefore, they didn't provoke any soul beasts when they returned. They played all the way back to the academy. Even soul masters had to balance work and rest. After all, fighting for a long period of time would greatly affect one's mental state. Wang Feng naturally didn't cultivate. He let himself relax a little. Even when he was tired, he only recalled the adventure in the Great Stardow Forest. He recalled the specific process. When he had time, he used his soul power to control the Xianming armor. It was equivalent to training his body all the time. The Xianming armor weighed a few thousand kilograms. If he didn't use his soul power to control it and reduce his weight, it would have a huge impact. 2 days later, everyone returned to the academy. Inside the office, Titan Giant Ape, you actually encountered a soul beast of this level? Sword Douluo, Strange Light Pillar, Sky Azure Bull Python? Flinders stood up from the table and whispered, "Why is it so dangerous? It seems that I can't let you go alone next time." This time, the Titan Giant Ape is all thanks to Wang Feng. Zhao Wuji told him about the Great Stardow Forest. After listening, Flinder was stunned. A 12-year-old child could actually block the Titan Giant Ape for a few seconds? Lin Feng's martial soul is indeed very magical. Among all the martial souls I've encountered in my life, it's the most magical. At this moment, a strange voice sounded. The door opened, and a middle-aged man was standing by the door. He looked quite honest on the outside, but his eyes flickered with light. It was Grandmaster. "Ha ha ha, come. Zhao Wuji, let me introduce you. This is Grandmaster." Flinder walked over and said with a smile, "Grandmaster?" Zhao Wuji was shocked and looked at the middle-aged man in front of him. "So you're Grandmaster?" Chapter 126. He had definitely heard of the Master's great name. There were probably not many people in the world of Soul Masters who didn't know about him, but there weren't many who had seen him. Immovable Wisdom King Zhao Wuji, I've also heard about you from Flinder. The Master walked in and said with a smile, "Let's continue talking about what happened just now." Lin Feng's martial spirit should be the most unique and magical martial spirit among the 8 of them. No, I think it might be the most unique and magical martial spirit in the entire continent. Hearing this, the 2 of them were shocked. The entire continent. According to what Tang San has told me all these years, as well as the news I received when I first came to the academy, my guess is that Lin Feng's martial spirit is a super mutated martial spirit. Just as he said, his martial spirit will change into different forms at different times and have different functions. The Master's eyes flashed. Moreover, according to my guess, it is very likely that he will have a special form every time he reaches the 10th level. The first time I saw him, he had a golden lotus. After coming to Shrek Academy, I heard that he had a red lotus. Now, I heard that he has a black lotus. And he just broke through to the 30th level. After saying that, Zhao Wuji and Flinder looked at each other. The Master was indeed a master. The 2 of them couldn't compare to his research on martial spirits. Through these bits and pieces of information, the Master obviously had a certain guess about Wang Feng's Chaos Green Lotus, and it was quite accurate. However, it wasn't all right. At that time, Wang Feng was just casually making up a story. It would change into different forms at different times. Remember, we can't spread Lin Feng's martial spirit. If outsiders ask, just say that it's just a mutation of twin martial spirits. The Master whispered, "Otherwise, once it gets out, I'm afraid it will attract the attention of other forces." Zhao Wuji and Flinder nodded. If the Master's guess was correct, This martial spirit was indeed too exaggerated. One form at the 10th level? What a joke. Even if it was fake, it would attract countless forces to fight for it. Actually, I'm also very curious about how far Lin Feng will go. The master smiled rarely. His secret is not just this martial spirit. There are many other things. Flinder, did you know that 6 years ago, didn't I invite you once? I want you to help me suppress a child's soul ring. Hearing this, Flinder was stunned. Yes, there was. You said that the child had forcefully absorbed a martial soul that was much older than him, and that his life would be in danger. You wanted me to temporarily suppress it with my soul power, to temporarily delay the child's life. Are you referring to Wang Feng? That's right, it's him. The master smiled and said, at that time, according to my theory, I thought it would be very difficult for him to survive. Therefore, I made him promise me that he would become your disciple, and then you would help him. In the end, he refused. Not only did he refuse, he even lived very well. In fact, he even became stronger. This means that my theory doesn't apply to him. Zhao Wuji and Flinder looked at each other again. Flinder was the one who understood Grandmaster the most. Grandmaster was extremely confident in his various theories regarding martial souls and soul masters. It was rare to see him deny his own theories. Who would have thought? Just now I heard you say that this child even took 3 kicks from his sword Douluo. I can imagine this child's physical quality far exceeded my imagination. Grandmaster sighed. Suddenly, a strange light flashed in his eyes. As for the other things on this trip, they were quite interesting. The sword Douluo must have told you about the sky azure bull python, so I don't need to talk about it. As for the light pillar that Zhao Wuji mentioned, I have never heard of it. I can't think of a power that can make soul beasts and humans tremble. Maybe it's some kind of powerful divine weapon, but only a god can use a divine weapon. But if you say that you met a god in the Great Stardew Forest, it's a little ridiculous. Grandmaster didn't dare to make wild guesses about gods, which were somewhat ethereal existences. The 3 of them chatted for a while, talking about the children's gains from this trip to the Great Stardew Forest. Not long after Zhao Wuji left, Flinder and Grandmaster quarreled until their faces turned red. Grandmaster only left when it was almost nighttime. He went to find Tang San. At this moment, in the forest outside the Shrek Academy, Wang Feng was using the external soul bone and the mysterious underworld armor. Wang Feng guessed that Grandmaster would be back soon after he returned to the Shrek Academy. He was probably looking for little 3, helping her digest the knowledge from this trip and explaining the external soul bone, the 8-spider spear. An external soul bone was something that almost every soul master on the continent dreamed of. Its mysteries couldn't be explained in a few words. Wang Feng felt that Grandmaster had probably guessed some of the mysteries of his chaotic green lotus, given his understanding of martial souls. However, Wang Feng didn't want to receive Grandmaster's help and guidance. There were too many things that even Grandmaster couldn't understand. Furthermore, Wang Feng didn't want to reveal everything. I don't believe that a 30,000-year external soul bone only has this many uses. Wang Feng took a deep breath and circulated his soul power. Densely packed bone spikes emerged from his body. Perhaps these bone spikes can be used in a different way, Wang Feng pondered. He thought of the thorny Xuanwu turtle's attack method. The bone spikes on his back instantly flew up and pierced through several towering trees. They also spat out corrosive liquid from their mouths. Wang Feng divided his soul power into strands and poured them into the mysterious underworld armor again. Then, he felt the soul power flowing through the mysterious underworld armor. Suddenly, one of the bone spikes moved a little. These bone spikes seemed to be controllable. Wang Fengxin controlled his soul power and divided it again. Strands of soul power flowed into the mysterious underworld armor. This time, the bone spike suddenly moved again, as if it was going to come out. Seeing this, Wang Feng was elated. It seems like this mysterious underworld armor can use the bone spikes to change its form. He had never thought of this before. He had only used his soul power to activate the mysterious underworld armor to cover his upper body. He had never thought of controlling the bone spikes on his upper body. Furthermore, The key to controlling them seemed to be the amount of soul power. These bone spikes were very thin. They were about the size of ordinary needles. One could imagine how many there were to form the mysterious underworld armor. There were at least tens of thousands of them. My soul power needs to be thinner to extract the bone spikes from the mysterious underworld armor. Wang Feng took a deep breath. If he had too much soul power, he would merge it into the mysterious underworld armor. If he had too little soul power, he wouldn't be able to control the bone spikes at all. This was a little difficult. Simply put, he needed to divide his soul power thinner than strands of hair before he could control the bone spikes and use them. The power of these bone spikes was probably extraordinary. They were probably even sharper than Tang San's hidden weapons, such as the dragon beard needles. Chapter 127. After trying for a long time, Wang Feng finally managed to separate one of the bone spikes. Sometimes, the weaker one's soul power was, the harder it was to separate them. This required extremely precise control. If there were tens of thousands of bone spikes, he would have to separate his soul power into tens of thousands in order to control them all. What kind of concept was that? Wang Feng felt his scalp go numb just thinking about it. After practicing for a long time, Wang Feng managed to control a strand of his soul power to pull out one of the bone spikes from the Xianming armor and held it in his hand. To be honest, it was very heavy. I wonder how strong it is. Wang Feng circulated his soul power, and with a light flick, he threw the bone spike out. In the next moment, whoosh! The bone spike pierced through 7 or 8 trees before it slowly stopped. Furthermore, the trees that were pierced only had a small hole at first, but it was quickly corroded. After a while, several trees were corroded and broke. It's so strong. Furthermore, I can control this bone spike. Wang Feng clenched his hand, and the bone spike flew back to his hand. It can kill at a fixed point. It's definitely not inferior to the hidden weapons made by Little 3. Although it's very heavy, it's very thin and tough. Its penetrating power is very strong. It's also corrosive. Wang Feng placed the bone spike back into the Xianming armor and felt a little excited. Putting its strength aside, the fact that it could be controlled was the most powerful thing about it. This meant that it would not be damaged, unless it was destroyed by brute force. No wonder the Xianming armor was so powerful. It was made of bone spikes, and its defensive power was terrifying. It could even reflect attacks. The moment he retrieved the bone spike, Wang Fengxin suddenly pulled out his soul power and swung the bone spike in another direction. Who is it? Whoosh! The bone spike's powerful impact instantly destroyed several trees. A graceful figure jumped back and forth and finally stood on a tree. In the dark night, her eyes emitted a faint glow. The person who came was Zhu Zhuqing. Zhu Zhuqing looked at the fallen trees and the green smoke coming out from the corroded trees. Her eyes narrowed slightly. She had never seen Wang Feng use this method before. This seemed to be even more powerful than Tang San's hidden weapons. Zhu Zhuqing, Wang Feng said doubtfully, "Sorry, I didn't realize it was you." The subtle practice of soul power required extremely focused spiritual power. Wang Feng wasn't distracted at all. When he sensed it earlier, he subconsciously threw the bone spike out. "I know. You were just warning me. Otherwise, I would be dead now." Zhu Zhuqing jumped down from the tree. She was wearing a black suit. Her perfect figure was hard to imagine. She was only 12 years old. "Why are you looking for me?" Wang Feng calmly withdrew his bone spear and asked with a smile. "Let's go to Soto City, the great arena of souls," Zhu Zhuqing said concisely. Wang Feng looked at the sky and frowned. "It's getting late. I want to become stronger and fight." Zhu Zhuqing interrupted Wang Feng. Wang Feng was silent for a moment. The main thing was that if the two of them went to Soto City and were discovered, it would easily cause misunderstandings. Furthermore, it was at night. "Then I'll go alone," Zhu Zhuqing said decisively when she saw Wang Feng's hesitation. Wang Feng suddenly thought of the original work. Zhu Zhuqing's family was a big family that prioritized benefits above all else. The internal strife in the family was very big. If she lost, her life would be in danger. It was no wonder that she developed such a cold personality. I'll go with you. Wang Feng followed her. Zhu Zhuqing nodded slightly. The two of them quickly passed through the forest. Not long after, they arrived at the great arena of souls in Soto City. If you want to become stronger, you don't need to be in a hurry. There should be a new teacher tomorrow. Wang Feng looked at the bustling Soto City and said softly as he strolled along the streets. A new teacher? Zhu Zhuqing seemed a little confused. You'll know tomorrow, Wang Feng said with a smile. Little Three's teacher was Master Yu Xiaojiang. Wang Feng remembered it quite clearly. It was at this time that he joined the Shrek Academy in order to help Tang San grow better. Zhu Zhuqing replied. The two of them walked into the great arena. Let's 1v1 first. After the two of them entered, they quickly entered the battle array and were still assigned to the 14th Division. In the future, they would become more and more familiar with the great arena. Not long after, the first match was Zhu Zhuqing. She went straight down. The opponent is a level 28 control-type soul master, and his martial soul is Cotton, TSK. Wang Feng looked at the battle below. The Cotton martial soul was an extremely light and easily broken item, and control-type soul masters were actually the most difficult to deal with in 1v1. Similar to Tang San, they were very effective against agility-type soul masters. Not only agility-type soul masters, but other types were also powerless against control-type soul masters. There was only one reason. Once you were controlled, you couldn't break free, and you would lose. The toughness of Cotton is about the same as the blue silvergrass, but Little Three is different, Wang Feng smiled. The control-type soul master below, with the Cotton martial soul, was quite strong. He also had 200 soul rings, and the Cotton was even tougher than Tang San's blue silvergrass. However, the difference was that it didn't have the toxicity of the blue silvergrass. However, the toughness of his Cotton was even stronger. Obviously, it took the pure toughness route, and the Cotton was faintly glowing with a silver-gray light, abandoning all other additional attributes. Zhu Zhuqing is going to lose. Wang Feng looked for a while and shook his head. The overall strength of this soul master was a little worse than Little Three, and he directly wrapped himself in Cotton, leaving only a few gaps to observe the situation on the battlefield. Unlike Little Three, he didn't make a lot of Cotton to shrink Zhu Zhuqing's combat range. He just wrapped himself up and then quickly controlled the tough Cotton to attack Zhu Zhuqing from all directions. Even though Zhu Zhuqing's reaction was extremely fast, she still couldn't break through the layer of Cotton that wrapped the enemy like a cocoon. In the end, she was defeated. When she came back, Zhu Zhuqing looked a little gloomy, and because of the battle, her face was also stained with a rare blush. You can actually beat him, Wang Feng suddenly said. Hearing this, Zhu Zhuqing was stunned. The person just now is similar to Little Three, but he is much weaker than Little Three. Wang Feng said slowly, You only need one thing to defeat him. What? Wang Feng took out something from his arms and handed it to Zhu Zhuqing. It was a stone. It was very warm and fiery red. Firestone? Zhu Zhuqing's pupils shrank. This kind of stone was used by commoners to start a fire. It was very common. Yes, this is it, Wang Feng said indifferently. After you fought with Tang San last time, you should understand how to counter this kind of control-type soul master who can restrain you. Try using your sharp claws to gently scratch this firestone. Zhu Zhuqing's palm slightly condensed, and her sharp claws gently scratched the firestone. A tiny flame appeared. Chapter 128. Whether it's blue silvergrass or cotton, most control-type souls are related to plants. Wang Feng continued. Any plant-type martial soul is afraid of fire, unless it has a fire-resistance type soul skill. But with this type of soul skill, it means that in terms of control, it is greatly inferior. And you don't have a fire-type attack-type soul skill, but without this type of soul skill, it's not impossible to use props to achieve such an effect. Wang Feng smiled and said, In this great soul arena, there is no rule that says you can't carry things. Most soul masters only use their martial souls to fight. In my opinion, it's very monotonous. Small things like flint, in the eyes of many people, are not a threat, but in your hands, it can exert a very powerful power. Your claws are comparable to ordinary iron tools. As long as you touch this flint, it will definitely produce flames. The flame of one is not enough to pose a threat, but what if you use a handful? Wang Feng grabbed a handful of flint. Zhu Qing. If you hit the flint with your claws and directly hit it down, the soul master who wrapped himself like a dumpling, no matter how tough his cotton is, will burn and collapse. The same is true for blue silvergrass. Wang Feng continued. That day, when you were fighting Little Three, if you had more than 10 flints with you, you could have thrown them at the walls made of vines. The special terrain that Little Three had created with his soul power would have been useless against you, and it would have burned instantly. This thing is your early weapon against control-type soul masters like Little Three. Zhu Qing. Wang Feng smiled and whispered, if you really can't, you can bring a small bottle of oil and sprinkle it on those blue silvergrass or cotton. 1 flint is enough to finish them. Zhu Qing. After listening, she was completely stunned. She didn't expect a battle to be like this. Indeed, flint and oil were too common, and they were all things used by ordinary civilians in their daily lives. In this great soul arena, soul masters can use all means in a battle. As long as you can win, the battle in the future will be the same. So, you need to have a divergent mind. Not only the power of your martial soul, sometimes a little thing will be in the hands of different people. At this point, Wang Feng paused for a moment before continuing. The effect will be magnified infinitely. Zhu Qing nodded heavily. She looked at Wang Feng, who was wearing a mask, with admiration in her eyes. She had never had such combat experience before. What a joke. Not to mention Wang Feng's 6 years of battle experience. Just his identity as a transmigrator had given him extremely high knowledge and extraordinary perspective. He was much stronger than Tang San. After all, Xiao San had only transmigrated from ancient times. Wang Feng, a modern man, has been influenced by a lot of modern knowledge, although he has almost forgotten most of it. However, he was still knowledgeable. In this great soul fighting arena, everyone relied on martial spirits. There was no one like Tang San who used hidden weapons, let alone others. Thank you, Zhu Qing said coldly. Wang Feng shook his head and walked down. The moment Wang Feng walked down, Zhu Qing suddenly frowned. Below, no battle information was broadcasted. But suddenly, the curtain on the glass window of the viewing area automatically fell down, and no one could see the situation in the great soul fighting arena. What's the matter? Zhu Qing was shocked and hurriedly asked the person in charge of the counter. Sorry, the next battle is a special battle, and outsiders are not allowed to watch. The person in charge said awkwardly, maybe your companion has been selected, then you can hope for his good luck. In this kind of battle, winning one battle will add a lot of points. Zhu Qing was stunned. Special battle? She had never heard of it. And at this time, when Wang Feng walked down from the great soul fighting arena, the audience around all dispersed. No one was there. Immediately afterward, the curtains of the surrounding viewing area were also pulled down. There was no noise. It was extremely quiet. Only the surrounding lights illuminated the great soul fighting arena. Not long after, a young man wearing the same mask came in from the other side. The young man's figure was extremely perfect. He was wearing a white suit, which looked spotless. The mask was a winged mask, revealing only a pair of pale golden eyes, which seemed to have a bit of nobility and majesty. Saul, 3 moves. If you can survive 3 moves, you can leave here. A cold voice, like the sound of nature, sounded faintly. Wang Feng looked at her. After pondering in his mind, he guessed something and slowly spat out a few words. Li Jian? Hearing that, the young man was startled, as if he didn't expect the other party to be so smart. However, she still just said faintly, Are you ready? In her tone, there was an emperor-like aura and majesty. Interesting. Wang Feng glanced at the great soul fighting arena. This great soul fighting arena was not simple. It did not belong to any force, but it did not mean that no one could control it. The first time he came, he defeated the genius soul master named Li Jian in one move. Unexpectedly, the force behind Li Jian would come to this great soul fighting arena to get back their face. Moreover, it was arranged so mysteriously. No one was watching the battle. Obviously, this young man didn't want anyone to know his identity. So mysterious, his origin was extremely extraordinary. "What's your name?" Wang Feng frowned. This young man gave him a strange aura. "Survive 5 moves, and I will tell you." The young man chuckled, seeming to find this very funny. Wang Feng smiled. Laughter. Bang! He disappeared on the spot. In the air, there was a sonic boom. It was like a racing car that had been charging for a long time, and made a roar when it started. In the enclosed arena, a series of sounds burst out. In a few blinks of an eye, Wang Feng punched towards the young man. However, the young man did not dodge, but a light wing slowly lit up behind his back, and his whole person entered a special state. Boom! Wang Feng's punch directly imprinted on the young man in white, and the fist wind stirred up bursts of air waves, but it hit empty air. The fist wind stirred up bursts of airwaves. The young man dodged. He also did not use any soul skills, soul power, or even martial soul. But his speed was not much worse than Wang Feng's. Obviously, his own level would be very high. Wang Feng was slightly startled. With his current speed, even if he did not turn off the Xianming armor, his speed was at least close to the level of a level 50 agility type. To be able to dodge so easily meant that this young man's level would be even higher. Your speed is very fast, and your strength is very strong. No wonder Li Jian was defeated. Even if he used all his strength against you, he would still be defeated by you. It's not wrong. The young man's body was faintly glowing. It's a pity that if you want to use this strength to take 3 moves from me, it's not realistic. Show me your true strength. The young man looked at Wang Feng in the distance, and his cold voice made it difficult to distinguish his gender. Wang Feng squinted his eyes. This young man seemed to be very strong. He seemed to be about 20 years old, and his level was probably very high, at least level 60. True strength. Wang Feng thought for a while, and then he kept the Xianming armor without leaving a trace. He laughed softly and said, "Since you don't want to reveal your martial soul, I don't need to either." As soon as he finished speaking, he disappeared again. This time, the entire soul battle arena let out a burst of sound. On the ground, there was a burst of fog. Almost in a flash, Wang Feng appeared in front of the young man. His speed was several times faster than before. In the young man's eyes, there was an obvious hint of surprise. Chapter 129. Without the mysterious underworld armor, Wang Feng's defensive abilities would decrease. But what he got in return was extreme speed. Without the weight of a few thousand kilograms, Wang Feng felt as if he was about to fly. The youth was shocked because she didn't sense any soul power or martial soul from her opponent. How did his speed increase so much? The speed of this punch wasn't inferior to hers. In fact, it was even faster. Oomph! The youth snorted softly. A yellow soul ring appeared on her body and lit up. A pair of transparent golden energy wings appeared on her back. Following this, her body also started to turn transparent. A punch landed directly on her body. Wang Feng focused. This punch landed on her body, but it went right through her. It was ineffective. Since his punch didn't work, Wang Feng quickly followed up with a few more punches. They landed on the youth's body and went right through her body. It was ineffective. Wang Feng's mind went blank. What the hell was this? His punches were ineffective. Did this mean that all close combat physical attacks wouldn't work on her? Wang Feng quickly retreated and stood where he was. He looked at the youth and furrowed his brows. He had seen the Douluo continent in detail at the beginning. However, he only remembered a few of the people who had appeared later on. Wang Feng was very clear about the specifics of the characters' martial souls and soul skills. This youth must have an extraordinary background. Why? Are you giving up? The youth was interested. Where's your martial soul? I haven't used a single move on you yet. Wang Feng's expression darkened. He looked at the wings on the youth's back. He had some guesses, but he couldn't be sure. If you're not going to attack, it'll be my turn. The youth laughed softly. Her voice was a little cold. After she finished speaking, 6 soul rings suddenly appeared on her body. Double yellow, double purple, double black. Wang Feng's pupils shrank. A 6-ringed soul emperor. Following this, the youth's body shook. 3 pairs of energy wings appeared on her back. Her body shone with golden light. Take this. Before Wang Feng could react, the youth clenched her fists. An intense golden light surged. It was like the light of the sun. Her speed was also very fast, almost like a golden stream of light. It attacked Wang Feng directly. Wang Feng narrowed his eyes and stood where he was. He did not dodge, and the Xianming armor appeared on his body. Rumble. The punch landed on Wang Feng's chest. Immediately, her face under the mask changed. He could only feel a terrifying and cold force bouncing back from the young man's chest. It also carried a strange aura. It made her body go soft. At this moment, a golden shield of light appeared on her fist and blocked the rebounding force. Rumble. A golden shockwave burst out from Wang Feng's body. This caused Wang Feng's expression to change. But Wang Feng still stood in the same place, not moving a single step. The young man took a few steps back and looked at Wang Feng with a grave expression. Strange. Judging from Saul's speed just now, the youth had thought that he was an agility type who specialized in speed. However, with the support of his second soul skill, his speed should be inferior to his. However, the punch that I unleashed with my first soul skill didn't seem to have done much damage to him. Furthermore, his chest is very hard and can even bounce back. There is also a corrosive special energy that seems to be able to weaken my body and weaken my defense. What could it be? Wang Feng was also injured. Part of the young man's punch had penetrated his Xianming armor and caused damage to his body, but it was very small and was negligible to Wang Feng. What surprised Wang Feng was that the young man was not hurt by the rebounding force. Just now, a golden shield of light suddenly surged out of his opponent's fist. It blocked the rebounding force. This young man's first soul skill seems to be a soul skill that is both offensive and defensive. Wang Feng pondered. A soul skill that was both offensive and defensive was more effective against rebounding force. While attacking, it was also defensive. It was very rare, and Wang Feng had not seen it before. Furthermore, after the special energy wings appeared on his back, his body turned illusory and his speed increased. It was probably a soul skill too. You were able to block one of my attacks. Not bad. The young man was impressed. Wang Feng was speechless. I could still block many of your attacks. At this moment, the young man's 3rd and 4th soul rings slowly lit up. The energy wings on his back became brighter and brighter. His entire body exuded an intense light. However, the young man did not move this time. He seemed to know that his opponent had a strong defense and was able to bounce back. The young man did not choose to attack again. Angelic brilliance. The young man muttered, and golden light shone from his body. Even his eyes were golden. His entire body was burning with a golden flame. This time, the young man attacked Wang Feng again. His speed was even faster than before. It strengthened. My speed has at least doubled. Wang Feng looked at the young man seriously. It was probably an extremely powerful soul skill that gave him a special state. It was like Dai Mubai's Vajra, white tiger transformation. However, this young man's soul skill seemed to be even more powerful. The flames on his body were a little special. Wang Feng could subtly feel that the soul power in his body was unusually heavy, and it was very strenuous for him to use it. Second move, the young man shouted. The wings on his back suddenly flew out and wrapped around his fist. From afar, the young man's fist was punching towards Wang Feng. His arm seemed to have become a huge hammer. The fist that was wrapped by the wings was burning with golden flames as it smashed towards Wang Feng. The golden chi flame suddenly caused a certain special energy within Wang Feng's body to move slightly, as though it was being pulled by something. This energy made Wang Feng feel a little uncomfortable. A black light flashed across his eyes. It seemed that the mysterious, human-shaped martial soul had been triggered. Wang Fengxin was stunned. Just as he was stunned, the fist had already smashed down. Boom! The fist with wings landed solidly on Wang Feng's body, sending the stunned Wang Feng flying more than 10 meters away. A trail of dust was left behind on the ground. "You dare to be careless in a battle?" The young man shouted coldly. She did not underestimate her opponent just now. She had expected him to be sent flying. She thought that her opponent would resist, but she did not expect him to stand still. Her fist ignored any defense and had the effect of penetrating and purifying. Furthermore, she did not hit her opponent's chest this time to prevent him from rebounding. Instead, she hit her opponent's mask on the right side of his face. In the distance, dust spread. The young man shook his head. This young man underestimated his opponent too much and made the same mistake as Li Jian. The young man retracted his wings, and the flames on his body slowly disappeared. She did not expect this young man to only take 2 moves from her. She turned around and was about to leave. But at this moment, end of chapter. Chapter 130. An aura that struck fear into her heart suddenly began to spread from the bottom of her heart. She had never felt this before. A threat, a sense of threat. The young man abruptly turned around and drew a sharp breath. Amidst the dust in the sky, 2 strange eyes were like 2 lanterns in the dark, attracting everyone's attention. Half of the mask on his face had been destroyed by his punch, revealing half of his handsome face. Only the other half was still covered by a mask, giving him a rather sinister appearance. The young man's heart palpitated. His entire body was also shimmering with golden light. It seemed to be the power of lightning. Lightning? Could this young man be a member of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan? The young man's brows furrowed slightly. When did he use that soul skill? Why turn around? The young man's heart jolted. Right at this moment. Whoosh! Golden lightning tore through the air, creating a series of crackling sounds. So fast, the young man's heart jolted slightly. At the very least, it was several times faster than before. Holy sword! The young man let loose a low cry as a pair of wings appeared on his back, and his body became insubstantial again. At the same time, his 5th black soul ring abruptly lit up. Bursts of flames suddenly ignited in his hand, and a long sword quickly took shape within the flames. However, almost in the instant that the long sword in his hand took shape, the owner of the pair of black eyes had already appeared right in front of him. The 2 of them were less than 10 centimeters apart. Their eyes met, and it was as if they could see the expression in each other's eyes. "You think you can just leave after punching me?" In the blink of an eye, Wang Feng reached out toward the young man with one hand after another, and the lightning in his hand flashed with thunderous light. The young man's body had already become insubstantial, but this time, in the instant that Wang Feng made contact with his body, the young man wasn't spared. A numbing sensation traveled from Wang Feng's hand, and the young man was slightly shocked. During this brief moment of numbness, Wang Feng's other hand directly tore off the young man's winged mask. "Let me see who you are." Wang Feng sneered coldly. Almost in the instant that the young man's mask was torn off, Wang Feng saw a face with exquisite and perfect facial features that seemed to have been formed from the essence of the heavens. Why does it feel a little familiar? Wang Feng faltered slightly. It seemed that he had seen her there before. Subconsciously, Wang Feng's fingertips brushed across her fair face. Even the finest silk couldn't compare to the subtle touch. This made Wang Feng feel a little surprised. "This face looks like a woman's," Wang Feng murmured. It was also at this moment. The young woman was completely dumbfounded. She had never imagined that this person would take advantage of the moment when her body went limp and numb to not attack her. Instead, the first thing she would do was remove her mask. He actually touched her. He even dared to say such words. Wang Feng's murmur was heard by the young man as they were standing very close to each other. Anger. Incomparable anger. Her 6 soul rings quickly lit up. His sixth black soul ring shone with an intense light. The 3 pairs of wings on her back became incomparably large, and a human figure appeared on her body. It also seemed to let out a furious roar. The humanoid shadow with 3 pairs of wings opened its mouth and let out a fierce roar at the same time as the young man. Terrifying sound waves shook the entire Great Soul Arena. Angels roar. All the seats on the surrounding high platforms exploded, and the glass on the ring-shaped stands shattered one after another. Wang Feng was the closest. He just snorted and quickly retreated. This soul skill was even more powerful than Zhao Wuji's mighty Vajra roar. It was completely harmful to the spirit of a soul master. Even Wang Feng felt that his spirit was a little shaken, and blood kept flowing from the corner of his mouth. This soul skill didn't harm the physical body, but caused great damage to the spirit. Fortunately, Wang Feng himself was a transmigrator, and his soul was special. Although his spiritual power wasn't that abnormal, it was extremely persevering. He only suffered some injuries, but if it continued, it would be hard to say. This is a F** king woman, and I feel a little familiar. Wait, could it be? Wang Feng quickly retreated into the distance, frowning at the furious young man at this time. Just now, the reason why he was curious about the other party's identity was naturally because when the young man attacked just now, especially when he hit his face, the aura on his body triggered the mysterious human-shaped martial soul in his body, causing Wang Feng to be temporarily absent-minded. So he felt good and didn't attack, but lifted the other party's mask to see who it was. All this time, Wang Feng didn't know how to activate the mysterious human-shaped martial soul, appearing and disappearing at times. He didn't expect that it would be triggered and shaken by this mysterious young man's attack. An extremely evil and strange energy surged out, almost causing Wang Feng to lose consciousness. Fortunately, Wang Feng came back to his senses in time. The chaotic green lotus in his body circulated and suppressed the evil and strange energy that surged out of the human-shaped martial soul. It was also because of this that Wang Feng was very curious about the identity of this young man, so he took advantage of the moment when the other party was about to turn around and leave to instantly release his deified soul skill. With the support of 3 times the attributes, the following situation happened. At this time, 3 moves had passed. Wang Feng felt a little dizzy, but he still persevered. The young man's roar soul skill was indeed much more powerful than Zhao Wuji's mighty Vajra roar. It was completely not something that any defensive soul skill could block, and it directly caused a threat to the spirit. A moment later, the young man seemed to have noticed that the surrounding glass curtain had been broken, and the momentum was a little great. He instantly retracted his soul ring and quickly picked up his mask. He looked coldly at the young man in the distance who only had half a mask on. The outline of that handsome face was vaguely familiar to her. Unfortunately, the change was too big, and she couldn't recognize him for the time being. I mean what I say, if you can withstand 3 moves, I will let you go. The young man glanced at Wang Feng with cold eyes. Seeing that Wang Feng's mouth was only slightly bleeding, he frowned slightly. She didn't say much, directly turned around and left slowly, quickly disappearing from Wang Feng's sight. Interesting, could it be you? I didn't expect it to be in such a place. 6 years ago, I changed a lot, but you didn't change much. Wang Feng laughed a few times in a low voice. The subtle touch in his hand didn't seem to disappear. As for the identity of this young man, he was just guessing and couldn't be completely sure. The only thing he could be sure of was that this young man should be the mysterious young man who appeared in Notting City with Bishop Jack 6 years ago. Although Wang Feng hadn't used that martial spirit palace token for a long time, he still had it. Wang Feng shook his head and used the golden lotus to apply the healing effect on himself. The recovery ability of the golden lotus was all round, including mental damage. After recovering, Wang Feng walked out of the Great Soul Arena. Wang Feng, are you okay? When Wang Feng walked back to the Great Soul Arena, Zhu Zhuqing quickly came over and asked in a low voice. The situation just now was a little scary. What special battle? She had never heard of it. She was really worried about the situation in the Great Soul Arena below. Until just now, the glass windows were all broken, and a terrifying roar came. That kind of incomparably sacred roar, as if to purify all the evil in the world, instantly made her a little dizzy and saw Wang Feng below. Fortunately, this roar didn't last long and disappeared. Wang Feng also came up. End of this chapter. Chapter 131. I'm fine. Wang Feng shook his head and hurriedly wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. This kind of pure spiritual attack was really troublesome. Zhao Wuji's mighty Vajra roar used sound waves to cause damage to the whole body and also to the spirit. But the young man's roar, just now, was the purest spiritual attack, and his body did not suffer any damage. His spirit, however, suffered some damage, but under the healing of the Golden Lotus, it was almost completely recovered in an instant. If I open the Black Lotus defensive shield, maybe I can resist part of the spiritual attack, Wang Fengxin secretly said. But how did he know the opponent's soul skill just now? Wang Feng had rarely seen a spiritual-type soul skill like this. There were even fewer soul masters with this kind of soul skill. Let's go back first. Let's not fight the team battle for now. Zhu Zhuqing's face was slightly pale. Although she was standing in the stands, she also suffered some damage from the roar just now. Wang Feng nodded slightly and returned to the Shrek Academy with Zhu Zhuqing. Fortunately, at this time, the sky was not completely dark and it was not late at night. The two returned to the Shrek Academy, and not many people noticed. After the young man walked out of the Great Soul Arena, Bishop Jack hurried over and asked respectfully, "Your Highness, how is that boy?" The young man did not speak, just closed his eyes and recalled the battle just now. This boy's strength seemed to be somewhat beyond his expectations. He even used his sixth soul skill, Angel's Roar. However, that boy should also be injured. Very strong. He can take 3 of my moves and not be defeated, the young man said slowly. Moreover, when he defeated Li Jian, he did not use the Red Lotus Martial Soul in the report. But it seems that he used other martial souls. Maybe it's twin martial souls. No wonder he is so strong. The young man thought of the opponent's sudden increase in speed and the lightning flashing all over his body when he attacked. He guessed that it should be the ability of another martial soul. Hearing this, Bishop Jack was shocked. Twin martial souls took 3 of His Highness's moves and not be defeated? What are you surprised about? A mere level 30 can take 3 of my moves and not be defeated. It's normal to have twin martial souls. The young man glanced at Bishop Jack coldly. You don't have to worry about this boy's affairs in the future. I will deal with it myself. Hearing this, Bishop Jack was stunned and hurriedly nodded in agreement. He thought to himself that His Highness must have developed a fondness for talent. After the young man finished speaking, he walked into a luxurious carriage in the darkness and left. In the carriage, the young man took off his fox mask, revealing a beautiful face. His eyes were shining with a special expression. Sometimes he was shocked, sometimes he was angry, and sometimes he was cold. In the end, she gently brushed her cheek with her hand and whispered in the luxurious carriage, "You sure have guts. You dare to take off my mask and touch my... How presumptuous. However, the outline of that half of your face seems to be somewhat similar to the child from Notting City 6 years ago. If it's really you, then it's quite interesting, humph." The changes in 6 years were too great. Wang Feng had grown from about 1.5 meters to about 1.78 meters. His physique and bones had changed, and a meteoric tear had transformed his body from time to time. His face was naturally completely different from 6 years ago. After returning to the Shrek Academy, nothing happened that night. The next day, everyone gathered in the cafeteria, eating breakfast and chatting softly. After eating, they all went to the square. At this moment, Flinder walked in with a few people. "Children, I will now announce a few things to everyone." Flinder coughed a few times and pointed to the few people beside him. "First, I will introduce the teachers of the academy to the new students." As he spoke, Flinder pointed to an old man. "This is Teacher Li Yusong. His martial soul is the dragon-patterned staff. He is a rank 63 soul emperor. The old man smiled and directly revealed his martial soul and 6 soul rings to everyone. This is Teacher Xiao Xin. His martial soul is the candy bean. He is a rank 71 soul sage and a food-type soul master. Among all the food-type soul masters that I know, Teacher Xiao's strength can be ranked in the top 5. Flinder said as he pointed at an old man who was only about 1.5 meters tall. This old man looked ordinary and was a little short. His eyes were small, and his nose was big. He was the most conspicuous in a crowd, and no one would even look at him. He was actually a food-type soul sage. If he was placed outside, he would be treated as a distinguished guest by many forces. Everyone looked at this old man in surprise. However, this teacher Xiao Xin did not care about everyone's gazes. His gaze only fell on Oscar and did not move. The last one is called Master. Flinder pointed to Master, and his voice suddenly deepened. He once relied on his own research and came up with the top 10 martial souls. He is known as the strongest person in martial soul theory and has an extremely high level of research on martial souls. He is also my brother and Tang San's teacher, Mr. Yu Xiaojiang. Maybe you don't know yet, but in the future, you will definitely know. Everyone did not hear anything else. However, Tang San's teacher was something that made everyone, apart from Wang Feng and Xiao Wu, feel abnormally shocked. Tang San's knowledge of soul masters and martial souls was much stronger than theirs. They had long heard that there was an omniscient teacher. They did not expect that he would come to Shrek Academy. Zhu Zhuqing looked at Wang Feng again. Yesterday, he said that it seemed that there would be a new teacher in the academy. It turned out that it was Tang San's teacher. Teacher, Tang San also opened his mouth and shouted at Master, a little surprised. Seeing this, Wang Feng was surprised. He thought to himself, didn't Master go to Tang San yesterday? Little San also knows that Master is coming. Shaking his head, Wang Feng did not think too much. Looking at Master in front of him, he felt a little subtle in his heart. In the past 5 years, he would sometimes visit the Grandmaster with Tang San. They would go once or twice a month. Naturally, they were not strangers. Although their relationship was not as deep as that between Tang San and Master, they were above ordinary friends. Compared with Zhao Wuji, Flinder was much better. Wang Feng naturally knew about Master's arrival. Flinder continued, from today onwards, Master will be in charge of all your training. Master took a step forward and glanced at everyone. Although his strength was low, he had experienced a lot and had a rich reserve of knowledge. Naturally, he had the aura of a special envoy. Just like the literary masters in his previous life, he was extraordinary. Knowledge was power. It was probably this kind of power. It was very suitable for Master. Glancing at everyone, Master slowly said, my name is Yu Xiaojiang. You can call me Master in the future. I have read the information of each of you. In the future, I will develop a set of study plans for each of you. I will treat everyone the same. Every single one of you must have a conviction that far surpasses that of ordinary soul masters. Remember, far surpass, because this is Monster Academy. Next, I will simply divide your strength into 3 levels. I will determine the general direction of your respective levels. Hearing this, everyone's eyes focused into this chapter. Chapter 132. First, Elementary, which means you haven't broken through to rank 31 and become a soul elder. Among them, there are Zhu Zhuqing, Ning Rongrong, and Ma Hongjun. Your main goal is to speed up your cultivation and try your best to reach rank 30, get your 3rd soul ring, and become a soul elder. Second, advanced above rank 31, Tang San, Xiao Wu, Oscar, Daimu Bai, and others. Above rank 30, you are soul elders. While cultivating, you also need to have a deeper understanding of your soul power, soul skills, and martial soul. I will teach you this one by one in the future. What the master said was clear and concise. However, everyone was a little confused. Master, may I ask, where's Wang Feng? At this time, Ning Rongrong asked curiously. He is also a rank 31 soul elder. Why isn't he in the advanced or the low rank? Wang Feng coughed a few times and roughly understood. The master glanced at Ning Rongrong and said indifferently, I haven't finished yet. Third, the last rank, is Wang Feng. Everyone. Wang Feng. Everyone couldn't help but look at Wang Feng. There was something wrong with this classification. Low rank, high rank, Wang Feng. The simple classification is just to give you a general direction and goal, but the training in the future will be unified. As for why it is divided like this, I will naturally explain it to you tomorrow. The master's stiff face didn't reveal a trace of smile. He was very calm. Today, you have a day off. Starting tomorrow, you will receive my training. By the way, I have ranked the 8 of you according to your age, except for Wang Feng. Number 1, Daimu Bai. Number 2, Oscar. Number 3, Tang San. Number 4, Ma Hongjun. Number 5, Xiao Wu. Number 6, Ning Rongrong. Number 7, Zhu Zhuqing. Wang Feng is not in your ranking for the time being. Okay, you can disperse. Gather here tomorrow. I don't want anyone to be late, or you will receive special training. After the master finished speaking, he looked at everyone again and then turned to leave with Frank and several teachers. The crowd was about to disperse. At this moment, Tang San suddenly let out a painful roar. Immediately after, a purple light appeared on his back. Something seemed to be squirming in his spine, as if it was about to break out of his body. Everyone was stunned. Flinder and the master, who had already walked a few steps, turned around. At this moment, Wang Feng suddenly shouted, spread out. His voice was loud and clear, and the other 7 people immediately came back to their senses. Back in the Great Stardow Forest, he had received a lot of guidance from Wang Feng. After Wang Feng said that, he immediately retreated without any hesitation. It was also at this time, 8 incredibly sharp spider legs suddenly emerged from Tang San's back. It was the human-faced ghost spider's leg. They appeared behind Tang San, wriggling crazily like 8 long spears that were gleaming with cold light. Everyone was shocked to see this. Fortunately, with Wang Feng's warning, the 7 of them managed to dodge in time. Unfortunately, Ning Rongrong and Oscar were 2 auxiliary-type soul masters. Because they were too slow, they weren't as agile as the rest of them. Their arms were cut open one after another. They quickly fell to the ground and were caught by Xiao Wu and Daimu Bai. Ma Hongjun was so shocked that he broke out in a cold sweat. A few days ago in the Great Stardow Forest, when Tang San absorbed the human-faced ghost spider soul ring, something similar happened. He accidentally touched it and was poisoned. Fortunately, Tang San controlled the 8 spider legs in time and used the mysterious jade hands to absorb the poison in his body. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. He didn't expect that he would escape this time, but Ning Rongrong and Oscar. Ma Hongjun felt a little lucky in his heart, but he also felt anxious about the situation at this time. The 8 spider legs on Tang San's back were wriggling slightly and exuding an intimidating aura. Seeing this, Flinder and the master hurried over. Xiao San, Xiao San. The master didn't get close and only shouted a few times. Tang San supported himself with both hands on the ground and didn't answer. His whole body was trembling slightly. Flinder, carry these 2 children back first, the master said quickly. Ning Rongrong and Oscar were caught by Xiao Wu and Daimu Bai in time, but the poison in their arms had already begun to spread. Clearly, the spider legs were spreading at an extremely fast speed. Wang Feng frowned as he watched. He originally thought that the master would have gone to find Xiao San to help him sort out the use of the external soul bone, but he didn't expect that. As a result, Xiao San couldn't completely control his 8-bone spider spear. That was why the current situation happened. It was a little different from the plot in Wang Feng's memory. The master leaned slightly closer to Tang San and said in a deep voice, Xiao San, control your soul power and circulate it throughout your body to calm yourself down. Let your soul power slowly approach your back and slowly touch the 8 spider legs on your back. Use your mind to control them. Imagine the feeling of retracting the spider legs. Relax and take a deep breath. Don't be nervous. Treat the 8 spider legs as a part of your body. Take your time. Wang Feng watched attentively. The external soul bone was a part of the soul beast and contained the will of the soul beast itself. It wasn't easy to control it. He controlled it because he understood the external soul bone very well. Furthermore, the will of the Xuanwu turtle had been completely devoured. Given his exquisite control over soul power, he was able to completely control the Xuanwu armor right away. However, he had to exert a lot of concentration and soul power to control the bone spikes. Slowly, Tang San's spider legs retracted into his back one by one. However, he still only managed to retract half of them. There were still a few legs left, and they seemed to be very difficult to control. Seeing this, Wang Feng walked forward and whispered, "Let me try." As he spoke, he controlled his soul power with both hands and pressed it directly on Tang San's back. He condensed his soul power into a strand of hair and transferred it to his fingertips. He didn't send it into Tang San's body. Instead, he gently tapped on Tang San's back and guided Tang San's soul power to move around his back. A glint flashed across the Grandmaster's eyes. He thought to himself, Lin Feng's control over soul power is too exquisite. He's using his hair-like soul power to guide Little San's soul power. This effect is no less than teaching by example. After a while, under the guidance of Wang Feng's soul power, Tang San quickly learned how to control his soul power. He immediately retracted the spider legs. Tang San was panting slightly on the ground. The external soul bone was obviously stronger than Tang San had imagined. He had never seen such a thing before, so he didn't understand it. No one could explain it to him. This was why he could control it. Wang Feng, on the other hand, was different. He understood this thing too well. Huff! Tang San exhaled and struggled to stand up. He looked at everyone apologetically. Little San, you should rest for a while. The Grandmaster heaved a sigh of relief. I'll go and check on Ning Rongrong and Oscar's injuries. As he spoke, the Grandmaster walked towards the room in the distance. The group hurriedly followed him. In a chapter. Chapter 133. Are you okay? Wang Feng helped Tang San up and asked in a low voice, Can you control it now? I should be able to feel it now. Tang San nodded. Wang Feng used his soul power to guide his soul power and let him control a few spider legs. He was smart and naturally understood it quickly. Okay, I guess Ning Rongrong and Oscar need your spider legs to detoxify the poison in their bodies, Wang Feng said. The poison in their bodies has spread. You can't detoxify it with your ability alone. You're different from Ma Hongjun last time. Wang Feng was referring to Tang San's mysterious jade hands. When they came back, they all talked about it. Tang San was stunned. He didn't know that the spider legs in his body had hurt his companions. Then let's go quickly. I should be able to control the spider legs. Tang San also quickly walked toward the room in the distance. Wang Feng nodded slightly. The two quickly walked into the room. Dai Mu Bai, Xiao Wu, and the others stood outside the door. Brother, how are you? Rongrong and Oscar's situation is not good. Seeing that Tang San had also arrived, Xiao Wu hurriedly asked, I'm fine. I'll go in first. Tang San directly pushed the door and went in. Wang Feng thought for a moment and didn't follow. What on earth is that thing behind Xiao San? Ma Hongjun's heart was still thumping. The others shook their heads slightly. Everyone was silent. After a while, the door opened. Everyone walked in. Ning Rongrong and Oscar finally returned to normal. Tang San was sweating profusely. It seemed that regaining control of the spider legs and absorbing the poison in their arms had consumed a lot of his energy. Oscar and Ning Rongrong barely woke up. Their faces were pale, but they were still weak. The wounds on their arms were also bandaged. Don't worry, they're much better. The master sighed softly. The poison has been removed temporarily. They should be fine after a few days of rest. It's just that they will miss a few days of training. Hearing this, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Ning Rongrong's eyes flashed with a hint of joy. She didn't need to train anymore. Oscar was overjoyed as well. Who wouldn't want to rest for 2 more days? This injury was worth it. Wang Feng roughly understood this feeling. It should be similar to when one encountered a typhoon or a rainstorm in school and suddenly had a few days off. It was very happy. However, At this moment, a golden light flickered in the room and surged into their bodies. Master, there's no need for that. I've already helped them recover completely. I've even gotten rid of the remaining poison in their bodies. They're much more energetic now. Wang Feng pointed at his face, which was gradually turning red, and said, Grandmaster. Tang San was speechless. Everyone. Ning Rongrong was speechless. Oscar, it was very quiet in the room. Wang Feng ignored Ning Rongrong's furious glare. Oscar also looked at Wang Feng with resentment. Holidays? It didn't exist. The Grandmaster looked at the two of them. Sure enough, they were in high spirits. Their faces turned from pale to rosy. He thought to himself, this should be the ability of Little Fang's Golden Lotus. It has a terrifying recovery effect. I heard that the effect of the first soul skill is even more exaggerated. The man-faced demon spider's poison was similar to a neurotoxin. Once the poison spread, even if Little 3 completely absorbed the poison, he would still be in a weakened state. Then, the injured person would also enter a weakened state. If it was a soul warrior with a strong body, they might not be affected by this effect. But if it was a support-type soul master with a weaker physique, he might not be able to fully recover after a few days of rest. According to the Grandmaster's calculation, these two people's physiques were not bad. They could fully recover in 2 days. He didn't expect the recovery effect of Wang Feng's Golden Lotus in its first form to be so exaggerated. It seemed that it could even restore one's spirit. Since it's like this, then report on time tomorrow. I'll leave first. The Grandmaster nodded slightly, and then left the room to talk to Flender outside. Wang Feng, how can you do this? I'm so angry. Ning Rongrong stood up from the bed angrily. I finally have a chance to rest for 2 days. She was so angry. Yes, Oscar also looked at Wang Feng with a sad face. Everyone held back their laughter. Tang San also felt it was a little funny. If you rest, you will fall behind in the future. Wang Feng said with a smile. As a monster of the Shrek Academy, don't you feel embarrassed to fall behind others? Oscar was stunned and felt that it seemed to be true. As for you, Wang Feng said with a smile, don't you want to become more beautiful? Of course. Ning Rongrong, but does it matter? Of course it does. Wang Feng said seriously, my deified soul skill changes the appearance of a person according to the soul power of the soul master. In short, the higher your soul power, the more beautiful you will be after I use it. When your soul power reaches a high level and you use the deified soul skill more, you might be able to permanently change your appearance. When everyone heard this, they were all stunned. There's such an effect? Ma Hongjun swallowed his saliva. Everyone, don't stop me. I'm going to cultivate. After saying that, Ma Hongjun rushed out. The other people's expressions were also a little strange, especially the girls who looked like Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuqing. That's why I'm doing this to help you. Wang Feng laughed. You will become more beautiful if you cultivate more. Don't you want to become more beautiful? Yes, yes. Ning Rongrong nodded like a chick pecking rice. Suddenly, she looked at Wang Feng, as if she had extracted some key words from Wang Feng's words. You said you're doing this for me? Wang Feng nodded. Ning Rongrong's face suddenly turned red. She snorted and quickly walked out. Then I'm going to cultivate. After saying that, she walked out full of vitality. The two girls, Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuqing, also walked out to cultivate. Brother Feng, is what you said true? Tang San was a little suspicious of Wang Feng. You still have doubts? Wang Feng looked at Tang San in surprise. Of course it's not true. Tang San. Dai Mu Bai. Oscar. Wang Feng couldn't help but laugh. The divine soul skill was not that heaven-defying. It could only be regarded as a beautifying filter. It did not have the effect of changing one's appearance. What he said just now was just a white lie. At the same time, he encouraged and fooled them. It's not good to deceive like this. Tang Sin smiled awkwardly. Why not? Wang Feng said with a smile. Even if you tell Master, he will say that this is a very good method. You have to know that there is no girl who doesn't want to become beautiful. People need motivation to do things. Just like me, in order to become strong, handsome, and rich and also for super big sister. Cough. In short, I need to give myself some real motivation. For them, this is the best motivation. The three of them were slightly stunned and felt that this seemed to be true. For a moment, they couldn't help but admire him in their hearts. Outside the house, Lin Feng, this child, I feel that he can already be a teacher. Master looked at the three girls who rushed out excitedly just now, and his stiff cheeks revealed a smile. I may not be able to do these things, but it is indeed very reasonable. Flender nodded slightly, but he couldn't help but smile when he looked at Ma Hongjun's chubby body. Hongjun, this is probably the only thing that motivates him the most. I hope that he won't discover this lie. Cough, cough. In a chapter. Chapter 134. They seem to have been motivated by Wang Feng for a day. Ma Hongjun, Ning Rongrong, and Zhu Zhuqing didn't practice and directly sped up their cultivation. It was precisely because of this and the battle 2 days ago that the three of them had a premonition that they were almost going to level up. The next day, early in the morning, Wang Feng opened his eyes on time and took a deep breath. After a night of cultivation, Wang Feng shook his head slightly. After rank 30, the compression and purification of soul power became even slower. Even though Wang Feng had used all sorts of methods to speed up his cultivation, it was still not fast enough for him to increase his cultivation speed. The 30,000-year soul ring had almost allowed Wang Feng to break through to rank 34 directly, but until recently, he had just stabilized at rank 34. However, Wang Feng wasn't in a hurry. It was useless to be anxious. After washing up, Wang Feng walked out of his room and walked towards the canteen. When he arrived, Wang Feng found that there were already a few people inside. Tang San, Ma Hongjun, Xiao Wu, Ning Rongrong, and Zhu Zhuqing were all there. Obviously, they had all woken up very early. Master, your cooking is good. Xiao Wu was biting a steamed bun with 2 mouthfuls of vegetables. The others were also wolfing down their food. Even Ning Rongrong, who was very picky about food, was holding a drumstick and nibbling it gently. After seeing Wang Feng, she quickly put it down and pretended to drink a mouthful of porridge and eat 2 mouthfuls of vegetables. Zhu Zhuqing did the same. The most exaggerated one was Ma Hongjun, who swept away the food on the table like a hurricane. The group was abnormally energetic. Wang Feng walked over and ate some. He found that the dishes cooked by the master were indeed good. It seemed that after so many years, the master's cooking skills were still very good. Not long after, Oscar and Dai Mubai also came. Eat more. Apart from soul power, a soul master also needs a strong physique. The master looked at them indifferently. And for a strong physique, apart from self-training, food is also the most important thing. From now on, I will make breakfast for all of you every day, but if you don't finish it before 6 o'clock, I will throw it all away. You don't have to eat anymore. Everyone nodded. Half an hour later, all 8 of them finished eating. At this time, the sky was just beginning to brighten. The gentle sunlight of the early morning sprinkled on the ground. The bell of the academy slowly rang. It was time to assemble. In the square, the 8 of them stood in order. In front of him, there was only Grandmaster. From today onwards, I will give all of you special intensive training. The Grandmaster's dignified gaze swept across everyone before finally stopping on Wang Feng. Wang Feng stepped forward. Wang Feng walked out and thought to himself, "Don't tell me you want me to do it. You'll be the last in this special training." The master didn't seem to follow Wang Feng's expectations. He just said indifferently, "Next, you need to watch." First, Dai Mubai stepped forward. Dai Mubai walked out without any hesitation. "You're a rank 37 Soul Exalt, so you'll have to fight Tang San first. In this round, Tang San, you can't use your special weapons or your 3rd soul skill." After the Grandmaster finished speaking, he looked at Dai Mubai. "This isn't fair, right?" Dai Mubai whispered. "Fair?" The Grandmaster said coldly. "Next, none of your battles will be fair. There's no fair competition in this world waiting for you to participate. However, since you've requested, the restriction will be lifted. Tang San can use his 3rd soul skill. Dai Mubai nodded this time and walked to the center of the square. Tang Sen also walked out. Begin. The Grandmaster's cold voice sounded. In the next moment, the two of them started fighting. Wang Feng watched from the side. This battle wasn't much different from what he had imagined. Although Dai Mubai won in soul power, Little 3 was a control-type soul master and restrained this kind of strength-type, assault-type soul master. If you couldn't break free from Little 3's blue-silver grass, you could only wait to be captured. Moreover, after Little 3's blue-silver grass absorbed the man-faced demon spider soul ring, the speed of paralysis and the poison of the man-faced demon spider was even stronger. The third soul skill, binding spiderweb, was very difficult to deal with. Rumble. Stone fragments flew everywhere. After fighting for a while, not long after, fine and tough blue-silver grass spread out in all directions, forming a spiderweb that directly bound Dai Mubai, who was possessed by his martial soul. The spikes on the blue-silver grass quickly spread through Dai Mubai's skin, causing his strength to greatly decrease and his whole body to be paralyzed. Wang Feng shook his head. That's enough. At this moment, the Grandmaster spoke and ended the match. Tang Sen hurriedly withdrew the spiderweb and used his martial soul to suck out the poison from Dai Mubai's body. As an assault-type soul master, you are most afraid of control-type soul masters. The Grandmaster walked to Dai Mubai's side. Under rank 60, control-type soul masters are the strongest in one-on-one battles. You thought that your soul power surpassed Tang San's, so you wanted to rely on Tang San's blue-silver grass to forcefully tear it apart. Although it was a good idea, it was obvious that you underestimated your own strength. The correct thing to do just now should have been to avoid the sharp edge and not give him a chance to use it. This is something you can't do as a strength-type soul master. Therefore, you need the cooperation of your companions. When your strength hasn't reached the point where you can crush your opponent, don't think in vain that you can get lucky. After the Grandmaster finished speaking, he said in a deep voice, Next, Tang San, you try to fight a round with Zhu Zhuqing. Mubai, you will face the combination of Ma Hongjun and Oscar later. Dai Mubai nodded and walked to the side. Zhu Zhuqing was silent for a moment. She gently touched her waist and walked out. Tang San, don't use your third soul skill this time, the Grandmaster said in a deep voice. Tang San nodded. At this moment, Zhu Zhuqing said, Grandmaster, you said that there is no fair battle in this world. Let Tang Sen use his third soul skill. The Grandmaster was also stunned for a moment. He frowned and finally nodded indifferently. Tang Sen was also a little surprised. Zhu Zhuqing was not Dai Mubai. He could restrain her. Moreover, the difference in soul power level was huge, not to mention using his third soul skill. Even if he didn't use it, Zhu Zhuqing shouldn't be able to defeat him. What's wrong with Zhuqing? Ning Rongrong asked curiously. She seems very confident. Xiao Wu shook her head. The rest of the people watched and were also puzzled. Only Wang Feng stared at Zhu Zhuqing's waist. She can't have learned it, right? But now Little 3 is rank 31 and has a third soul skill. I'm afraid. Wang Feng didn't think too much. Tang San and Zhu Zhuqing stood in the square. Blue-silver grass. Bind. Tang San didn't say much and directly used bind. Countless vines emerged from the ground and attacked Zhu Zhuqing. As an agility type, Zhu Zhuqing was naturally lighter and more agile than Dai Mubai. Almost in the blink of an eye, she avoided the incoming blue-silver grass. The square was very empty. For Zhu Zhuqing, it was not much worse than the Great Soul Arena. Zhu Zhuqing frantically dodged in the square, but Tang San's soul power was very high. The blue-silver grass was more and more, and it was shrinking the square almost every moment. The space she could move in was getting smaller and smaller. In just a moment, the whole square was almost full of vines formed by blue-silver grass. Zhu Zhuqing didn't have much space to dodge. End of this chapter. That you're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.